This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandra, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, everybody in Augusta, Georgia, everybody over in, let's see, where can we go today? Knoxville, Tennessee. Kalamazoo, Michigan, right?
Walla Walla, Washington.
Walla Walla, Washington.
Weewaw, Wichita.
Weewaw, Wichita. I'll be right out in Provo, Utah. You know, Greg, you'd do well there. Hopefully everybody's having a good week. This is Alex, co-host, Liberty Underground.
You forgot the most favorite one.
Battle Creek, Michigan.
Battle Creek, Michigan.
I wasn't going to say it this week. I was going to let it go. I was going to let it age like a fine wine. Hopefully everybody is doing well. We have a very jam-packed show today. A whole lot of different issues to get to today. So I suggest you listen the whole time.
It's like a montage.
It's a lot of stuff going on there.
Maybe
it is
a collage?
ups, downs, lefts, rights. I'm going to get mad at a couple different times. I guarantee at least 3 rants.
At least.
At least 3 rants.
Yeah.
Based off the information today, I guarantee you 3 rants.
Yeah, I would think so.
And I guarantee you that Danielle will be uncomfortable at least 3 times.
Probably more.
Maybe more.
She will be uncomfortable for at least 3 hours.
Yes. I think I'm already uncomfortable.
Are you ready?
I think I am, yeah.
Well, Tripoli's favorite libertarian is a woman that is sitting next to me here to my right. Her name is Danielle Alexandra. Good morning.
Good morning.
Doing well?
I am. I'm doing very well.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Moving on. We don't care.
Moving on. Wearing the Snoogans t-shirt, as he so famously does.
But now, he has worn that before, so he has lost the
no, it's
only a Wednesday deal
Bowen
now.
challenge.
No,
I thought it was on Fridays, too.
No, it's only a Wednesday deal.
I can't focus that much on that many things. On
half the Wednesdays, I'm in bed. I don't even get to see the...
You were mentioned on Wednesday's show.
Was I?
Yes. Right in the beginning.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But his name is Greg Bowen. How are you doing this morning, Greg?
Spectacular.
Very nice. Glad to hear it, man. Glad to hear it.
Moving on. Nobody cares.
Moving on. Nobody cares.
I think that America is like the only place where we greet people with a question that we have no care what the answer is. How you doing? Whatever they say, good.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Good. You're doing good.
You know, I actually had someone. I was a server and a restaurant manager for many years, and when I was young, I actually did. You know, like I thought you were supposed to care. You know, I started when I was 15 as a server, so you know, everyone came in. I'm like, "How are you guys?" And one lady looked at me and she goes, "You really don't care. Why ask?"
Well.
And I was like, "Well, I actually do care." And I hope your day gets better because obviously it's not so nice right now.
Damn. Wow. That's a good point, by the way. Well, hopefully everybody's doing well. I think we should get right into it, if you guys want to get right into it.
Well, you always think that.
There's a lot of stuff going on. I say we
get right into it, then get right out of it.
But you know, and we actually started last week with a story about, you know, like some of the stuff that we had done, and there's another story this week that I have to go into before we get into the actual news because I feel like nobody knows that this is going on. But Adrian was driving around, and he calls, and he says, "Do you know that there's a commercial that is soliciting military members that have been vaccinated with anthrax?" And I'm like, "Why?" And he was like, "I don't know, but they're asking for people, for military veterans who've been vaccinated for anthrax to come, you know, give plasma to this company." And I'm like, "Why anthrax?" So we actually, I looked it up as he's on the phone because I'm like, this is just really weird. And it is actually for, and I don't know if you guys ever knew that this existed. I certainly missed it. The Project BioShield Act of 2004.
I heard of that. I don't remember right offhand the particulars on it, but I remember.
This is the U.S. biodefense strategy, and it's called Project BioShield. And this was started in 2004. And now it's kind of a 3 approaches to biodefense. One of them being that they try to make vaccines and other, you know, basically, you know, treatments for any type of biochemical weapons or anything like that would be used.
Right.
Now, it's funded it has been funded with $5.6 billion over 10 years from the government. And they have research and development, and then they have, countermeasures in a state of emergency. And those are the three things. And this whole thing was funded with $5.6 billion over 10 years. So, we're sitting there talking about it. And I haven't looked into the depths of this program. On the surface, I actually don't mind it.
Right. On the surface, it's a program to acquire medical countermeasures to biological, chemical, radiological, and nuclear agents for civilian use.
To me, proper role of government.
Yeah.
I really have no issue with this on the surface. Of course, I haven't done some really in-depth research to see,
Yeah, there's got to be something really bad.
Because they don't do anything good.
Here's the rub. In the description.
Do they rub you? Do they actually rub you?
Efficacy of these agents cannot be directly tested in humans without also exposing humans to the chemical, biological, or radioactive threat being treated. There's
right.
the rub.
That is the rub.
There we go.
There's the rub. Well, that's actually you can't do that stuff unless you are gonna.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, of course.
Which totally makes sense. I mean,
It does actually.
Why they're looking for blood from people that have anthrax.
Yeah. Now, so we said, well, wait a minute. Why are we just all hearing about this now? Why? And this was a commercial that he heard on regular terrestrial radio on an FM station that is not known. This is not talk radio. This is, we're playing music and, having dumb commentary. And I don't want to say what station it is, but.
So he's like rocking out to Foreigner, and then a commercial comes on. And
Yeah.
No. Ferner.
So this is not political. I mean, this is, your, very kind of entertainment kind of radio station. I would say primarily geared towards men, but and I don't want to mention their station because they own their content in the entire universe.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the station that he heard it on, and he was like, "Why would they be advertising on this?" On this really kind of, it doesn't seem to match. So we're really kind of like, wait a minute, why are we only hearing about this now? And why are they advertising it literally to the general population that would not be politically active? And then we realized that the Project BioShield Act was passed in 2004 and only funded for 10 years, which means they need funding. So they need it to be popular again.
Yes.
They want that to not be on the chopping block when people are like, we have to cut the budget. So how do you do that? You scare the crap out of people by saying you're about to get hit with biological weapons and we need to save you.
There's a website for Project BioShield.
I'm on it.
Medicalcountermeasures.gov.
Yeah, I'm on it. I put it in the show prep.
Yeah, there was.
I didn't even see it in the show prep.
There was a link for it.
Hey, there you go. Probably helped to look at the show prep.
Like the first one in there.
Just saying.
No, the first one in there is more Russia sanctions likely.
Well, that is the first one in here. This was a couple down. But yeah, so, and I honestly didn't know that this even existed. We were very kind of shocked at why this would be starting to be advertised now and not, in 2004. And then realize the funding aspect of it. And we're like, even when we think on the surface there's a good program, they're always trying to deceive you.
Yeah.
Like, there's always some catch.
There's always a rub.
Yeah.
And it's always the wrong way.
It's never a good one.
Yeah, I do remember Project BioShield was familiar, and after looking up, I do remember them talking about this back when it started, but it got such little attention because at the same time it was, we were creating DHS, and there was so much else going on that this got very little coverage. And it's something that, not a lot of people were averse to. They're like, hey, we need this. We're getting anthrax sent in the mail to people.
Right. So I was, kind of shocked that he was hearing a commercial on the regular radio. So I was like, okay, let's start looking into that. What's going on? And of course, now that we've said the word anthrax about 26 times, hello, NSA.
Yeah. Hi, Toby.
We've definitely, the show has now been flagged.
I mean, does this mean we're like switching to a world where like the military has to have bake sales to fund themselves and the schools are fully funded?
That is actually kind of funny. That is kind of funny.
But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. It was a program I hadn't really, I mean, I guess I probably did hear about it in 2004, but like you said, it was one of many that you couldn't even keep up with everything that was happening.
Yeah.
But then you never hear another word about it till they need money.
Yeah.
Well, once they need money, then it's a different deal.
Oh yeah, then it's like, look what we've done for you.
And look at how important this program is. We need this program.
Absolutely.
You're going to die of anthrax if you don't fund this program.
Right. Right. And apparently, if you're a veteran who has been vaccinated 3 times for anthrax, you can make some money donating plasma.
Hey.
So anyone out there need a little extra cash, and now it does say, because I did look up the company that is getting the plasma, and of course it's a private company because we love public partnerships. But
Big fan.
Oh yeah, it's great. But the company does have a disclaimer that it is open to anyone who has had 3 vaccinations of anthrax, but that it would probably only be military who's actually done that.
Yeah, it's quite unlikely that normal, everyday people have been vaccinated for anthrax 3 times.
Right. And, isn't that on the schedule?
I mean, I've seen them in concert more than 3 times, but I've never been vaccinated for anthrax more than 3 times.
It's like, with your tetanus shot.
I've never been vaccinated for anthrax.
You weren't.
No, I wasn't.
I guess they didn't care about you guys when you were in there. It's like, screw them.
Yeah, they didn't care.
You were the testing group.
I might have been.
They were hoping you guys would get it so they could test it and see if
It didn't work.
You're the control group.
I don't have anthrax.
You're the placebo.
I tried to get it. It wouldn't work.
It didn't take.
It didn't take at all, man. It really did. It's kind of suck. All right.
Well,
good times.
Speaking about very kind of scary deals, there are going to be more sanctions on Russia because that always works.
Yeah, because it has slowed them down so much up to this point.
I love how the government is very decisive as far as they will take a bad idea and we're just going to keep doing it till it works.
That's
Just
right.
run with it. Just run with it.
It hasn't worked for the last 50 years. Let's just keep going. It's about to work sometime.
Yeah, one time it's going to work. You know what the problem is here? We're dealing with places that we have no idea what's going on.
Right.
I mean, we really are. We have no earthly idea what's going on. From my understanding, Ukraine's sending troops into places, and then those troops are just turning Russian. Because they're already Russian. They just were in Ukraine. I don't even understand how we can get mad because a group of people in a country called Ukraine are like, well, we really like Russia instead, and we're just going to start switching over. They're not taking over nothing, man.
The people of the Ukraine aren't necessarily so upset with the Russians because they keep joining them. The Ukraine soldiers don't even stay fighting for the Ukraine. I don't know how we think we should fight for them.
We're more mad about this than the Ukrainians are.
Ukrainians are happy, dude. They're like, yeah, we're going back to Russia.
Hey, the Russians are here. Woohoo!
They're happy. You know what I mean? Why are we even getting in the middle of this? Here's the thing. You know what my problem is here, ultimately, with Obama and this horrid administration? You guys are actually voluntarily showing the whole world how inconsequential we are turning into. Look, if you do this, we're going to give you sanctions. And Putin, as a joke, is like, well, we're going to give you guys sanctions too. What are you going to do? You're going to go
Everybody's sanctioned.
Putin's like, well, I'm rubber and you're glue. Yeah. Whatever you sanction on me bounces back and sticks to you.
And just to show you what kind of commie Hannity is, by the way, is that Hannity secretly deep down loves Putin.
Oh, yeah.
He wishes Putin was our president. And if you put an R next to Putin's name, he'd be up there talking about him right now.
He'd be up there touting the virtues of rootin' tootin' Vladimir Putin.
Oh, yeah. That's what you call him. I'm surprised that FreedomWorks hasn't come out with a draft Putin message yet.
The heritage.
Draft. You ever heard these draft Ben Carson things, by the way?
Yes.
Oh, my God. What is wrong with people, man? Seriously. We've learned nothing.
There's a lot of things wrong.
Boy, we're only halfway through the pack of cigarettes that we're forced to smoke now. I'm just saying. We're only halfway through. You think Obama is like, after Obama, we're going to be done smoking? No. We got so much more left to go. There's so much more that's going to happen here. But look, man, stay the hell out of Ukraine, man. Just stay out of it. Just don't get involved.
You know, in all honesty, I really don't know what's going on in the Ukraine. I don't know how the people feel about Russia coming in. And the fact of the matter is because all I know is what we hear over here. Mm-hmm. We're not there. I hear some sources that say the Ukrainians are thrilled that Russia's there for the most part. I mean, there's some that aren't, obviously. But there's a large group of Russians in the Ukraine that are very happy to go back to Russia. And then there's some that aren't. I can't tell you overall. I do know that it doesn't seem like it's this, horrible, where, I don't see places being bombed and whole villages being destroyed like we do.
You know what the key there is? That is the key. Because if they were doing some of that stuff, then you'd have pictures of that. Right. That you would have pictures and they would be showing it to us. But there isn't. Right. It's what you don't see that's important in this one.
And whether they are or they aren't, it's still not our business. It's on the other side of the planet. At most, the neighboring nations need to be involved, if anything.
Yeah, but who'll be the policeman of the world?
Yeah, because we're doing such a bang-up job of it ourselves, you know what I mean? And if we're supposed to be this, well, we're going to come give you freedom and democracy and, don't you think it just kind of looks bad when you say, I'm here to free you, so I'm going to destroy your village? Like, if that's what...
I have freed you of all of your possessions.
If I don't understand what freedom and democracy and what that really means, and you say, I'm bringing it to you, here, let me destroy your house, I'm kind of going to say, I don't know if I want that stuff that you're talking about.
Hold the freedom.
Yeah. This doesn't seem like a good time.
But I will take a sandwich, though.
Give me the sandwich, hold the freedom.
Hold the freedom.
I mean, I
86 the democracy.
I don't understand how anyone in their right mind can think that we're doing this because we're just bringing freedom around the world, but we do it by way of bombing people.
Yeah. That's what pisses me off about guys like Bolton, Michael Bolton. John Bolton. John Bolton, right? Is it John Bolton or Michael Bolton?
I hate them both.
I'm not really a fan of either one, but John Bolton's the one I'm talking about. Like, when they start trumpeting out all these damn neocons, these Trotskyites, this is really what pisses me off. Like,
trotting out the Trotskyites,
man. Trotting out guys like Bolton, because Bolton is so unabashedly unapologetic about his stance on bombing other countries.
Yeah.
He so does not understand that in all reality, when you want to talk about the problems in this country, is that Barack Obama is a huge problem, and the Democrats are huge problems in this country when it comes to what they're trying to do with government. But you, dude, are totally the problem. Like, you really, 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 like, dudes like you should be in jail right now. Like, it's a shame that the Democrats didn't do that. Yeah. That would at least have been something. Because John Bolton, you should be hanging from a tree. You should be swinging from the gallows because you would have been convicted for whatever it is the hell that you did wrong. We know you did some stuff wrong. We know you did. And the stuff you advocate for is just straight evil. And again, these guys think they're the patriots. They're like, we're patriotic. John Bolton is about one of the least patriotic guys in this country. And again, people go, well, we shouldn't question each other's patriotism. You know what? I'm questioning his patriotism. I'm questioning Dick Cheney's patriotism. I'm questioning those guys' patriotism. You know why? Because they got rich off of them damn wars.
Exactly.
And for you to say that Cheney didn't get rich off those wars, now I know that Rand backed off of his words when it came to Cheney, but here's the thing. Cheney got rich off of those wars.
Halliburton.
He got rich off of those wars. Whether he wants to say it was for good reasons or bad reasons doesn't change the fact that he got rich off of those wars. And if you want to make up for that, you donate every damn cent you ever got from Halliburton to wounded warriors. You do that, that's saying something. If you ain't going to do that, then shut the hell up, you old bastard. Let's hope nothing happens to that pacemaker of yours.
Yeah.
I don't hope that. I hope something really bad happens to your pacemaker.
Yeah, these guys are scumbags, man. These guys are just. I mean, again, Obama and them are evil. Don't get me wrong. I ain't trying I ain't trying to say anything different. But you know what? So's Cheney, and so's Rumsfeld, and so's Bolton. I don't even put Bush in that category. I don't think he was smart enough to know. And you know what? The thing that Bush has done after the election has actually, in my opinion, given Bush a little bit of a not a pass, but a little reprieve.
Well,
Dude does so much stuff for the troops that you never see, that you never hear about. You only hear bits and pieces of. Dude seriously loves those people and works for them still. Like, he realized he got him in that mess, and so he's responsible for it. You got to give him something for that.
And see, that's the difference. I think that while he was in office, he really did care about the repercussions and the soldiers and the ones who were wounded and killed. I think he really did. I think guys like Cheney and Rumsfeld did not.
And
they were collateral damage to them.
They were planning this shit before he got elected.
Yeah, and they were. And when you look at who profited off of it and who made the money off of it, it wasn't Bush.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was all of his advisors, though. And when things started to happen, he was writing personal letters to every soldier that was wounded, every soldier's family that was killed. I think he did understand what he was asking them to do and what families and soldiers were giving up for the country. Now, did he understand that, he probably made some wrong decisions? No, probably not. But again, he was listening to a lot of advisors who had been in this game a long time before him.
Yeah.
And who profit off of it.
Dad, I don't need your friends coming in to tell me how to do what I need to do. I know what I need to do.
Well, obviously, he did need Dad's friends.
Hold on. Reference.
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
Oh. Dad, I don't need your friends coming in here to tell me to do what I need to do. I know what I need to do. Harold and Kumar go to Guantanamo Bay.
I actually knew that one.
I only saw that movie once, and I was so high.
Well, that was funny. That was the part where where they come down off the thing
into his house.
And he's like, Cheney's coming, hurry!
Yes.
Yeah.
That guy scares me.
That was a great movie right there. But at any rate, though, we are going to try to put more sanctions on Russia, which is only going to draw them further away from dealing with the petrodollar as they make their own deals, which was the one thing that will ultimately crash the economy. Thank you for playing.
Yeah, and like Greg said,
Stupid.
I think the one thing that we really need to kind of take into account when we're looking at these things and all these people beating the war drums is what pictures are you not seeing come out of Russia? Mm-hmm. And that is huge devastation and things like that. And if that was going on, if you've seen people being killed and, cities being destroyed, they would be all over the news. Mm-hmm. But you're not seeing that. And the fact that you're not seeing that is because it most likely isn't happening.
I'm sure there's fighting and there are people dying.
Sure.
And, it sucks. But this is not our fight. And we have a tendency of getting our nose in every fight around the globe that's got some profit in it. And we need to stay out of this one. Absolutely.
And in all honesty, more sanctions doesn't help anything.
No.
At all.
Everybody who pays attention to how these things work know that sanctions only hurt the little people. Mm-hmm. This does not hurt Putin. This does not hurt their economy. They do not care. That's why as soon as Obama threatened sanctions, Parliament voted do it anyway. And Putin said, okay, I'm going to do it anyway. That's what I wanted to do. Fuck this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, again, we should be out of it. We shouldn't be dealing with it. And this is when the neocons come out of hiding, by the way. This is one of those things at the times when the neocons just, come out, war, bam 'em, bam 'em, bam 'em. It's, And if you don't, you don't love America. If you don't want to go and get our troops killed, you don't love America. That's what John Bolton says to me every time I hear him talk.
And he says, like, if you don't want our troops to die overseas, you don't support the military. What?
Yeah. Again, traitor. Honestly, I really want a shirt with John Bolton's picture on it. It says traitor right on it. And I want to wear it around. Let somebody say something, I'll punch him straight in the face. I'll preemptively strike him. I'd be like, well, I need to put some sanctions on you.
The views of Alex Snicker in no way reflect the views of the 1787 network, its subsidiaries, or agents.
Or any other libertarian who agrees with the NAP.
Are you really going to tell me that John Bolton hasn't violated the NAP already?
No, but you punching people in the face for saying something about you wearing a traitor shirt is definitely a violation of the NAP.
I'm not allowed to do that? Oh.
No.
All right, well, then I'm not going to do that. Moving
Tell
on.
you though, that's why I'm thinking about leaving the Libertarian Party. I want to be able to punch people in the face without worrying about it.
The nap is overrated.
The nap is far too restrictive. That's a too big of a rule for me. I'm too libertarian for the nap.
You know, before we go to the next subject, though, I was looking at the Politico, and one of the things one of the articles came from Politico.
Oh, okay.
But on there, they talked about the Tea Party radio network. Now, it's totally not the Tea Party radio networks because it's Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck. Those guys are not part of the, they're not Tea Party people. But to find out how much money that those guys are actually getting paid from these organizations, I didn't even realize how much it was. Do you know that Heritage gave Sean Hannity in 2008? No, okay. Heritage began sponsoring Hannity in 2008 and paid $1.3 million in 2011 to a broker to arrange and fund the deal. According to the group's IRS filings, last year, Sean Hannity doing radio ads for the Tea Party Patriots, lending his name to fundraising drives, hosting its leaders on his radio and Fox News show, and even using Fox airwaves to promote the Tea Party Patriots on the website. But in 2011, $1.3 million. Your favorite guy, Levin. AFP paid him $757,000 to sponsor his radio show for the 2012 election cycle.
So that was their advertising. That's what they paid in advertising on his show.
Heritage paid, Limbaugh, Heritage paid him $2 million some year and $9.5 million overall. FreedomWorks paid him $1.4 million. So $1.4 million of the money that you donated to FreedomWorks went to Limbaugh's show. Rusty Humphries, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? Like, Jesus. They're putting Rusty Humphries in there. Let's see here, it doesn't say. They paid him $15,000 over the past couple months. So, I don't even know why they would. I don't know why you pay him any money.
To support Boehner's long shot primary challenge.
Now, Beck declined to comment about it. Beck wouldn't give his numbers.
Yeah, because they're higher than all of that.
Yeah, because, you're damn right.
He's like, wait, I'm trying to change my image and get these people to trust me.
And while we're talking about Beck, and I didn't pull any of the stories because I don't even like to bring him up on the show, but since you already have, what a turnaround he's done right back to being the old Glenn Beck this week.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone who thought, oh no, he's changing his ways and he's going to, no, he didn't. He trashed Ron Paul's supporters again this week. He went, anyone who's supporting the Bundy Ranch situation that's on the side of Clyde Bundy is basically an idiot. I mean, what a turn right back around to being the great neocon hope of the GOP.
Yep. As much as he calls the Obama and the Democrats communists and socialists, he certainly is of the same stripe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got no. Here's the thing when it comes to the guys like Beck. There's a lot of people that are involved now because of him.
Right.
But he's a gateway. I mean, and you can't stay there very long or you'll get screwed up.
Yeah. It was. I saw a few stories out about his show, and I don't ever listen to it unless I have to. but yeah, he went, just way down, right back to, he's a GOP apologist again.
Mm-hmm. And we're domestic terrorists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Harry Reid, boy. I got to tell you, man. Well, that's what we're getting into next anyway. Yeah. So in
nice
this
segue.
That was a good segue.
Craig teed it up for you. All you had to do was hit
it. To watch what Harry Reid is doing, and this is very Canary in the Mine Shaft-ish, because this is what the left is going to do. Instead of engaging in an honest conversation about these issues, they are just going to call you domestic terrorists.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to defend your property, if you try to defend yourself against this jackboot thug government, then guys like Harry Reid are going to call you terrorists. Mm-hmm. This is when it's going to go south. It's stuff like this that's going to... And Harry Reid knows it, by the way. Harry Reid knows it. So go ahead. Go ahead with the story.
No, this week, Harry Reid came out and he basically... He lumped the supporters of Clive Bundy, who is the rancher that we did speak about last week, who's basically, trying to defend himself and his own cattle against the federal government. But he basically lumped all of his supporters in with people like Eric Rudolph's, Richard Reed's, and Timothy McVeigh. And he called them domestic terrorists.
His direct quote was, "Those people who hold themselves out to be patriots are not. They're nothing more than domestic terrorists. I repeat, what went on up there was domestic terrorism." Oh, my God.
Really, Harry Reid. Well, no. And it's, guys, this is another reason why you have to work very, very hard to ensure that everyone, and I repeat, everyone, that thinks like Harry Reid is at the minimum removed from office. Harry Reid needs to be removed from office. He really does. You cannot have these people in charge of anything, because what they're going to do is exactly what they did, which is arm a group of people that should not have been armed, send them out to a location to try to intimidate the public, and if they fight back, then we're going to come and get you. You know what? If this thing does go south, you know what, man? I don't know if Harry Reid might need to be the first casualty.
Well, and I don't know. I haven't been able to substantiate it. I haven't been able to confirm it, but it does look like there could be an issue where Harry Reid's son is a stakeholder in a company that would like the mineral rights on that same property.
Yeah. No. These guys use a force of government to enrich themselves. The reason Harry Reid is rich, the reason his family's rich, is because they've got into government and they've used that to enrich themselves. It's not capitalism. That's not the reason why they're rich. It's because of socialism. It's because of crony capitalism is the reason why these guys like Harry Reid, who's a disgusting, despicable human being, are rich. This is why. Yeah. Again, this guy should be under the jail, if not just buried dead.
And just to kind of recap of what's going on there, Clive Bundy is a rancher who lets his cows graze on what's considered federal land. Now, he had been able to do this. His family's been doing this for generations. 20 years ago, the federal government basically changed the rules and provided that, all these ranchers who had been using this land to graze cattle now could no longer do that without paying a fee. Now, Clive Bundy pays all of his state and local fees, so I don't want to make it sound like he's not paying fees for grazing. He is.
Yeah, that's the part that Becky don't want to tell you, by the way.
Right. He is paying fees. He's paying all the state and local. What happened is 20 years ago, they changed the rules so that it would be an additional fee onto him that he had never had to pay before.
Yeah, because the federal mob needed their cut.
So, and he basically said, no, I pay all my taxes. I'm doing everything the way that my family's done for generations. You can't change the rules on me just like this because... And the reason why they say they're changing the rules is to protect this desert tortoise that is not native to this area, that they actually pulled from another area to try to save the tortoise. And when the funding for their facility dried up, they had to put these tortoises somewhere, so they put them on land that they weren't actually indigenous to begin with, and then decided they were going to charge the ranchers who had been using that land to graze cattle a fee.
Yeah, now this guy's family has been on there since like the 1800s.
Yeah.
Like, these guys were using this land for their cattle before Nevada was a friggin' state. That's how long ago it is. You want to talk about a grandfather clause? That's it right there. Their grandfather didn't. To be honest with you, at this point, the dude did. You're right. The dude does pay his rights for the grazing rights.
Right.
He does do that. He just doesn't pay it to the feds because the feds came up with a new rule. It's like, here's the thing. It's like you have property taxes, right? If the feds come down and say, you know what, man, I'm going to give you a new property tax, man. It's going to be a fed property tax. Do you really want to pay that thing?
No.
Are you going to try to fight it? That's what they wanted to do. He wanted to fight this thing.
Right.
Now, why can't the feds just take him to court? Do you know what I mean? Like, now, all of a sudden, you want to start killing his cattle and stuff, and start, using those traitor-ass cowboys, some of those traitor cowboys that you had, to go take his cattle? And you expect the American citizens to just sit there and take it, Harry Reid? Well, of course they would, because you Since you're in charge, you want to make sure that they just do whatever you say to do because your family's in on this crap.
Yeah. And basically, if this rule, what he's disputing is the rule change. And this does have, this is what we all have to look at. If they can change the rule midway through this guy's business, they can change the rule on anyone. And they do this all the time, where you're running your business, whether it's a small ranch or a small farm or even just a regular small business. All of a sudden they come in and they decide to change the rules, and now you can't support your family anymore. Because all of a sudden they've decided we're not getting enough extortion from you. We found another way to extort money from you, and now you have to pay us more, to the point where you can't even survive as a small business person anymore. So, this does have to stop. The government shouldn't be able to come in and in the middle of your business be able to say, we're changing all the rules and now you owe us 3 times the amount that you used to owe us. And if you can't survive, then you can't survive.
Yeah, like the mob.
It's
Exactly.
exactly like the mob.
There's no difference between them and the mob.
You're not paying your protection money, so we're coming in to beat your ass.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And if you get out of line, we're going to call you a domestic terrorist.
Right.
Again, Harry Reid, who, great constituent services there. You're really doing good there. You're really looking at the concerns of your citizens. Jerk.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it's not like this is some new rancher who just started a ranch and they said, hey, the laws changed 20 years ago. Now you're going to have these fees. And the guy just said, no, I'm not paying anything. That's not what happened here. This guy had been using this land and paying everything, getting all the permits and doing everything the way he was supposed to. And his family had been doing that for generations. And they came in midway through and said, no, we're changing everything and now you owe us more.
Yep. And that was 20 years ago.
Tell you what, man, I'm reading the comments on this article for Harry Reid, and woohoo! The liberal hate just spewing all over here. First one, every one of those militia members should be tried for treason. Oh, those men were aiming rifles at law enforcement personnel. This is crazy.
That's what you're going to have, by the way. Again, if this thing does go south, you're going to see a lot of this, though. Because people are going to go, we need to trust the government. We need to do this. You know what? That's where you aim your weapon at. Just next.
Yeah.
Man, next. These people. This comment thread actually tells you why we are where we are.
Well, and what I think, it's always easy to say, well, that guy should have been doing this and he should have been following all the rules, until it's your business that they target.
Oh, yeah. Those same people would get all mad if it was them on the other end of this.
Right.
He's a freeloader who has benefited from the land belonging to the people of the United States and refuses to pay for the benefit he mooched off. He should pay what he owes just like other ranchers.
God, if they just had any understanding. And the problem is that those people on the left, a lot of the people, especially the dumbasses that are on that thing, have no understanding of property rights or of, that there's something called state and local taxes that you have to pay, that the government changed the rules and then all that. They don't care about any of that stuff. Go ahead.
And here's a great one. Totally leaves the topic. Usually when someone calls themselves patriot or freedom lover nowadays, the image that comes to mind is that of a thug, thief, or common loudmouth trash.
Thug, thief, or common loudmouth trash.
Yes.
I would like those people to come to my house and tell me that.
Yeah.
I would really like that a lot.
Well, they hide behind the anonymity of the internet.
Yeah.
They are keyboard commandos.
Yeah.
They don't have a hair on their sack. They wouldn't stand up to you in reality ever.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and like I said, it's one of those things where it's easy to say that Clive and Bundy is wrong when they're not targeting your business, when they're not targeting how you support your family. Because once they come after your business and say, we've changed all the rules and now you're going to pay us 3 times more, then you'd have a different tune.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently it's easy to say that he's wrong. Apparently it's a lot harder to prove he's wrong, or this wouldn't be going on for 23 years. IRS has attorneys, and they will throw your ass in jail if they can prove it.
Yeah.
It's not difficult.
Right.
It does not take them 23 years to put your ass in jail for unpaid taxes.
Right.
Yeah. They got Capone for that.
Yeah, that is how they
Case
got
closed,
Yeah, so, I'm hoping that this is something that can be settled in a peaceful way. Because that's always my hope, that there's not, life lost and people hurt in any situation. But when you look at the words of Harry Reid, it's looking less and less likely that that's what's going to happen over there.
Well, that and the Internet Commandos, but
you've got a senator of that state who wants to label these people with the evil moniker. Mm-hmm. Right? The terrorist is the evil moniker of the day.
Right.
2,000 years ago, we like to call people demons when we wanted to make them evil and have everyone hate them. Now we call them terrorists, and it's disgusting. I hate that, man.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I hated him before this.
Oh yeah, me too.
This just reiterates why I hate him.
What happened there?
I don't know.
I think it's the headsets though, because the mic.
Is it the headsets? Because I can't even hear the mic either, though. I can't hear the mic at all.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. There we go.
The headset.
It's just the headsets.
That's all right, though. No big deal.
So anyone else did not hear what we heard. All of a sudden, we heard silence, some radio silence, and what a little, wait, what just happened?
Yeah.
But apparently it was just in our headsets, and you guys heard everything fine.
There you go.
Our incoherent rambling on what just happened.
see, here's your clue that Obama and Harry Reid, these people aren't out to do good things. They aren't out to help the little people, because everybody who's out to do good things and help the little people gets a bullet in the back of the head.
Right.
These people are still alive and kicking. No one has shot them yet. That's enough evidence for me that they are not doing anything good.
Very twisted logic on that one, but I totally understand.
It's absolutely true. Anwar Sadat, I'm going to bring peace to the Middle East. Hey, we got a nice seat for you at the front of this parade.
Yeah.
JFK, Martin Luther King. How many people have come out and tried to do good things for people and get killed?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people get killed.
Anybody who gets any power and tries to help the little guy gets killed.
Yeah. That's
how you know these guys are not doing that.
Right, because they're still alive.
They're still alive and got plenty of power.
And we're talking about Harry Reid's, very horrible statements, but he was not the only one this week who kind of put his foot in his mouth as he was talking.
Oh, they're all pretty good at that.
Yeah.
Now, and this is my favorite person to quote, because he never says anything smart. There's always some, and this isn't even funny, but it is, it's one of those, like, that's so wrong, it's not funny.
It's
but,
like a sad funny.
Yeah, but coming from you, it's like, yeah, I expected that. Joe Biden this week spoke at the Boston Marathon. This is obviously the 1 year anniversary from the Boston bombing, the Boston Marathon bombing. And so Joe Biden did speak at the memorial service before the Boston Marathon. What he said, though, kind of made people go, what? Now, some survivors spoke before him. So there was a lot of Boston Marathon survivors who spoke before him at the service. But this is what he said. Let me say to those, quote, survivors, my God, you have survived and you have soared. It was worth it. I mean, sincerely, just to hear you speak. You were truly, truly amazing. I've never heard anything so beautiful. What was worth it?
It was worth it for the bombing to happen and those people to die and get hurt, just so I could hear you speak on this topic and inspire me. Everything happens for a reason, folks.
Don't just step back and go, wait, what?
The Boston bombing was worth it so Joe Biden could be inspired by the victims.
What a dumbass.
That's America.
Seriously. What a dumbass. I don't understand how anybody on the left can call anybody else stupid, considering how completely idiotic your vice president is. Because that dude is, without a doubt, the dumbest guy in America. He's dumb guy. He's president or vice president dumb guy. You dork. I mean, seriously. And again, I don't even think Joe Biden even means anything bad by it. He's just that stupid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what basically it was all worth it. All the death and harm and destruction and all, everything you survivors had to go through to be rehabilitated. It was worth it because I got to hear you speak. That is literally what he said.
It was worth it for you to be so inspiring out here showing us what it means to get through hardship and to have determination. Oh, my God.
You know, watch Rudy, all right? Don't have a Bobby. Just watch Rudy. That'll work for me. That'll work for you. That's an inspiring... Joe Biden, you need to be inspired. Watch that, okay?
Read a inspiring book.
Remember the Titans. That was an inspiring show.
But, I mean, it was just... And people got onto Twitter and were just skewering him, you know. But that's the disconnect. Well, number one, Joe Biden's an idiot. I mean, and I think that anyone who doesn't realize that Joe Biden's an idiot is in themselves an idiot.
He might even be a domestic terrorist.
You could be. Because I haven't heard anything Joe Biden said that's been quoted that I could say, well, at least that one made sense.
Yeah, very few things. I don't think I've heard anything.
None
that I can remember.
None that I can remember, but I can remember tons of his bad stuff. Asking the guy in the wheelchair to stand up.
Yeah. Hold on. Now that one was funny. That one was funny. That's a good time.
Stand up so everyone can see you.
Stand up. Yeah, God bless you.
I forgot you're in a wheelchair.
That dude is the definition of drunk uncle.
You know, he cursed on the microphone when they passed Obamacare.
Yeah.
Big effing deal.
Yeah. You know, what else did he... Oh, gosh, there was... he's the shotgun.
Yeah.
Shoot the shotgun in the air.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'll help.
Get yourself a shotgun.
Dumbass.
So, you know, Joe Biden, always good for a horrible, horrible statement that everyone leaves scratching their head going, what? Apparently, death and destruction is worth it as long as you can come back and inspire Joe Biden.
Yeah. We gotta keep our vice president inspired so we can keep getting these awesome policies.
Yeah, exactly. God, these people suck so bad. It's not even funny. All right, moving on.
No segue. Let's just get out of this.
Not for Joe Biden. There's no segues for Biden. There's nothing you could do to segue correctly to that. All right.
I bet you I can segue. Do you think Joe Biden thinks inflation is worth it?
Probably.
So gratuitous.
It was.
Well, you said I couldn't do it. I took the challenge.
Why don't you just give the story?
Inflation actually, there was a consumer price. The consumer price index actually rose by 0.2% last month, which is a little bigger of an increase than what they expected. So, and when you look at that, that's what. Essentially what you pay for things. So that's, you know, what you pay for goods and services, the loaf of bread, or, you know, your groceries, your, you know, everything that you pay for, all in all, in just 1 month went up by 0.2%, which you would say, well, what's 0.2%? If it does that every month, that's going to be a whole lot by the end of the year. And within 10 years, you can't afford bread.
Yeah.
You know, even in 5 years, you can't afford bread. But what to me was one of the kind of, I kind of looked at this and said, how can this be a good thing? Is that the Federal Reserve officials actually think that inflation is rising at too low of a rate.
We got to print more money. We're not printing this stuff fast enough.
Well, you got to remember, the Fed's job, by their own admission, is to be able to have inflation and be able to manage it. That's their job. They think that printing money out of thin air is a good idea. They want your money to be worth less every year. They just want to be able to control how much worth less your money is.
Yeah, they call the fact that it only rose by 0.2% a drawback.
Yeah. That's the Fed for you guys. That's the Fed for you.
We're not printing money fast enough.
So, the consumer price index actually within the last 12 months has gone up 1.5%. So overall, you're paying 1.5% more for all of your goods and services.
And that's the fake inflation number.
And that is the fake inflation number, actually. That's the one. They could only doctor it down to 1.5%.
Yeah.
But the Federal Reserve thinks that this is a good thing and thinks that actually inflation should go up at a higher rate. So for everyone who goes to the grocery store and says, man, I used to be able to get a whole cart full of groceries for $100 and now I can only get 4 bags of groceries for $100. The Federal Reserve thinks that you are buying way too much stuff with that $100.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Unbelievable. Really, it is. Again, it's just more of the evil system that you're on right now. If you can wake up to it and realize that the Fed is not necessary. Again, we look, things inflate and deflate. You have that. That is part of what goes on in an economy. The problem is that there's no deflation anymore. It's only inflation. So that's why wages haven't kept up. It's the reason why you haven't seen, look, advancements in technology should have made it to where you were able to save more money than what you are currently saving as a citizen. The problem is that the government stole that money. They didn't steal it directly out of your pocket. But what they did was they kept inflation going. The wages don't keep up with the inflation. But the technology advancements are all negated because of what they're doing with inflation, or what they're doing with printing money out of thin air. And you don't get any of that money. The bankers get that money. But then they blame capitalism because the bankers got the money when it had nothing to do with capitalism whatsoever.
Yeah. And the way they try to sell this as inflation being a good thing to the people is that, well, when we have inflation, that means things are worth more and, people are making more money, and they say, small businesses are making more money and things like that. Well, what they're not telling you is the other side, is that your wages aren't keeping up with the inflation. So what it means for you is that prices are going up and you don't have the money to afford it anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's what they seem to, and we always say that the government loves to do the math that doesn't make any sense. And this is what they do on this. Well, look at when the inflation goes up a lot, that means everything is worth more and we're in a boom.
Everything costs more.
No, and it doesn't mean we're in a boom. It just means everything costs more and you're screwed.
Well, no, and here's the thing, too, is that, look, I'm a capitalist, which means I believe in capitalism. This is not capitalism because the government is controlling who's getting this money, and they give it to the bankers out of thin air. They don't have to pay anything for this money. So those are the guys that are making the money on it. It's not you, Joe Blow, the citizens, making any money on it.
Exactly.
Right. Now, someone from an economist did say, because they did interview at least one economist who seemed to know what he was talking about, from FTN Financial, says, while increases in consumer prices are a good sign, for many concerned about disinflation, it is not positive for the overall economy unless wages rise in tandem.
Yeah, which they're not going to do.
Which they're not going to do. I mean, because you can't have because all the taxes are raising at the same time. All the fees, everything that you pay to government is also raising. You can't afford to pay your employees more. You can't afford to pay them more wages. Because what do more wages mean? More that you're paying the government, more in taxes, more in fees, more in permits. So there's no way for a business to survive and pay their wages to keep up with inflation.
Exactly.
So you're always going to have this, you're making the same amount, but everything that you need to buy to survive now costs more. So you have to do a lot more with less.
Mm-hmm. Imagine that.
But they're just looking out for you.
Yeah, but who will inflate the currency?
Who will make your dollar worthless?
How do you guys want this government?
Who will make you poor?
Exactly. Like, how do you guys want these people? Again, the Fed is another evil organization. And they're allowed to exist, and there are people that defend them. Well, they're just looking out for us. When? When have they been looking out for you? When they've debased the currency to the point where 2 people working 2 jobs each ain't enough to live? Is that when they've been looking out for you? That whole time? Or they've been giving the federal government enough money to bomb basically every country on the friggin' planet? Again, where's the good? Where's the good in what they're doing? I would love for somebody to explain it to me, but you people can't explain it because you're too damn ignorant. You're too damn stupid. Now, don't get me wrong, they dumbed you down on purpose, but when people like me try to educate you a little bit, I think I just start freaking listening. And stop freaking going, well, that means that Greg Scott might lose and Charlie and Chris might win. You dumbass! You people are stupid. And you need to understand what the hell you're doing. We're trying to be nice. We try to wrap it up in some comedy or wrap it up in some kind of thing. But you know what, though? Maybe I just need to yell at you. Well, I've tried that, too, and it hasn't worked either. I have no idea how to get through to you. None. No idea in the world. Because next time I hear, well, Mark Levin said that the Liberty Convention, I got an idea. You stupid! Levin worked for Reagan. He ain't an outsider. These guys are the Trotskyites, man. They're swerving you again. Now we got new CIA guys trying to swerve you. Thank God most of y'all ain't paying attention now. Most of y'all ain't listening to him now. Thank God for that. But man, took long enough. It's kind of painful out here. I got to tell you. Would love for you to be involved in the Liberty Movement. Be great. Love for you to be involved. Some of y'all are getting involved now. I'm happy, but gee, I'm telling you. Next time I hear somebody say anything about Levin, I'm going to flip my lid. That guy was... Here's the thing, too, and this is the best part about this. We're going to get into this later. But we're going to get into something that 5 years ago Levin was against. And now he's for, like he found a new toy. Like Levin found, I've uncovered this thing called the Constitution. And inside of it is this thing called Article 5. Imagine that. Let me write a book about it. Even though I went on a tirade for an hour against Danielle on his radio show who was talking about that very thing, and he came out against it. And you people bought it like it was going out of style. Like I said, I hear another one go by Levin. I'll trust Levin. If you trust Levin, you got problems. All right? If you trust Levin, you're a sheep. Look, I got to tell you right now, and people know on the show, people don't trust me. I don't tell them to. Go look it up for yourself. Right. I don't want you to trust me. I want you to make sure, now, if what I'm saying is correct and you like the way in which I said it, you can go ahead and do that, but don't follow me anywhere. Unless you want to go. You know, hopefully you got some smokes and some road beers, but, you know, it's all good other than that.
We like Yingling.
Yeah, I'd rather have some Jack, though, but that's all right.
Right. Yeah, if you're going to bring a drink, bring Jack.
Yeah, bring Jack. But at any rate, I'm ranting here.
Well, you did promise at least three.
This one was a very gratuitous rant.
Yeah, that's number one.
Yeah.
Promise 3 today.
I actually was hoping.
I think I'll get the other 2 in, by the way.
I actually was like, oh, sure, now the headsets work.
Yeah. Now when he's going off the... screaming.
You know that I'm holding a lighter in my hand, right?
Yeah.
I ain't scared. See, you can't even light it.
That's scary.
All right, there you go. All right, well...
Yeah, and we're going to get into the whole Levin and the Article 5 Convention of the States, CONCOM, whatever you want to call it. We're going to get into that in the third hour because there's a lot of stuff that we were at a very interesting event over the weekend, and we got a report on all of that. And people don't know my background on an Article 5 and don't understand all the dynamics. So we'll get into that. And now in the next hour, we are going to be talking about the craft brewery bill because after really looking at all of the doublespeak and legalese and ridiculousness in the bill, I have not only wrapped my head around it, but I've also seen the money behind it. And I cannot wait to tell everybody what is going on with craft breweries and why.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a pretty important one, actually, though. It's a very telling one.
Yeah.
You know, and this is a story that needs to be told. Is what it is.
You know, I mean, it's on
a story about a boy.
I think we could name the show "Name Your Extortion."
Yeah.
It's kind of the theme of the show. Extortion from all angles.
Adrian said to stop yelling that I'm going to blow his speakers.
I got to say, for a minute there, I was like, man, now the headsets work? Really?
You have volume control on your end, Adrian.
Yeah, go ahead, Wiley. Turn it down if you need to. You need to be paying attention, Adrian. Hey, Adrian, when I'm talking, you need to be listening, sir. All right? And if you got a problem with that, 1-800-525-4032. You can call in if you want to, and you can tell me what you think, but you remember, you're on my airwaves. Remember that, boy. You think you'll call now?
Probably.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Well, we'll be back.
Yeah, we will be back, though. All right, let's take a break. When we get back, we're coming back on Tan Talk, so no cursing anybody. Anybody's on here, no cursing. But we will be back. And we're going to bring up the craft brewery bill. This is some nasty stuff that you need to know about, by the way. Good examples of how bad government is. But this is Liberty Underground. We'll be back.
is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
The Libertarian Party of Florida is excited to announce the 2014 State Convention. Join libertarians and friends from across the Sunshine State to hear great speakers including 2016 presidential candidate Darrell W. Perry, the chair of the National LP Jeffrey Neal, plus Donald Belanti, George Phillies, Wes Benedict, Tony Stiles, and more. Be sure to reserve your seat early for the banquet Saturday evening with keynote speaker Judge Jim Gray. Jim Gray, the former judge of the California Superior Court and author of Why Our Drug Laws Are Failed, was Gary Johnson's 2012 presidential running mate. Arrive early to mix and mingle with friends at the Friday Night Social. All special events are open to the public, so even if you're not a registered libertarian, you are welcome to attend. The convention dates are approaching fast. Join us in Tampa Bay, May 16th through the 18th. Go to lpf2014.org to get your tickets today.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street, just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
of the man with the rifle in his hand. Don't be mistaken. I believe in peace, but I won't be taken. I will not submit to authority of man. I'm ready to die, but not for love. See the signs appear. It's gonna happen here.
This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandre, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, Clearwater, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg. This is Alex, co-host, Liberty Underground. If you'd like to call the program, the number is 1-800-525-4032. Along with me is Tripoli's favorite libertarian, a person that is always happy when engaging in a conversation with me, Danielle Alexandre. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, I don't think so. Also working the controls as well as he does is Greg Bowen. Greg, how are you doing, sir?
Spectacular.
Very, very good. Well, in my way of trying to mess up the show prep, honestly, I'm not really messing up the show prep that much, considering this was in the show prep.
I always I always have about 5 extra stories in case we get towards somewhere in the hour where we don't have a lot of show prep, but we have something scheduled for the next hour that we can. This is filler. This wasn't ever actually meant to be an actual part of the show prep. It was just filler in case we got done with something early.
Yeah. So the thing is this. Charlie Crist was at an event, not an event that he was holding, by the way. He was a speaker at an event.
He was the keynote speaker at an event. The event was put together for him.
I got you. He was the keynote speaker, but it was an event that was an event, not the Charlie Crist campaign event. So that's not what it was. Now, what Governor Charlie Crist said on stage was, Governor Scott has led like this: embrace the ideological fringe, take care of his friends, bully his opponents, hide from the public and the press, and run from tough issues. Now, I would think that actually, the funny part is, that Charlie Crist is actually giving a synopsis of what he was like when he was governor. Because he keeps running because the truth means little to Rick Scott, because he doesn't have a record to run on, because he knows Floridians don't support him and his priorities are wrong. Coming from the guy that the last time he ran lost because the people didn't support him. This is such a funny election. Now, while this was going on, the lieutenant governor, the current lieutenant governor is there, Lopez Cantera, was there, and the press was talking to him about what Charlie Crist has said, and Cantera went out there and was defending Rick Scott, which I don't even know how you do that, but was attacking Charlie Crist. So what does Charlie Crist do? Interrupts him.
Now, you see this as, and we completely disagree on who made the faux pas here.
Okay, who made the faux pas here?
The lieutenant governor. This was an event put together for Crist to be the speaker. The Governor Scott was not invited. The lieutenant governor was not invited. This was not an event that it was scheduled to be at, or that they were invited to be at. He came and basically crashed an event. Now, he stood outside the forum, right outside the door where Crist was speaking, and was speaking to reporters based on what Crist was saying, but they were not invited to this event.
And Crist was not speaking at the time.
No, he was in the speech with Crist, walked outside and started giving an interview to the reporters. After
the event was over, he went outside to talk to the media, like it's done all the time.
Okay. They weren't invited to this. They weren't invited to this. This wasn't their event.
It doesn't matter. The media is there to interview people.
Okay. I think that their faux pas was sending anyone there at all.
I'm not even saying that's wrong or that's right. It doesn't matter. Once the interview's going on, Charlie Crist goes in and interrupts people. So now Charlie Crist has set a precedent, by the way. You have set a precedent. So if I'm in a public place and you're there, Charlie Crist, and you're giving an interview, guess what, guy? You're getting interrupted.
I disagree with you.
Here's the thing. You can disagree all you want to. I'm interrupting this cat.
Whatever.
And honestly, he set the precedent for it, him and his purple little tie.
In all honesty, I
And his folded up shirts like he does a day of work in his life ever. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't believe that campaigns should crash other people's events. So I actually believe that the lieutenant governor had every right to be interrupted because he was at an event he was not invited to.
How do you know he wasn't invited there?
Because I've looked up the background on this. This was the Forum Club of Palm Beaches put this together for Charlie Crist. They didn't put this together to have both sides up there. He was not an invitee to this event. Now, because it was open to the public, he wasn't told to leave. But this wasn't an event that they said we want people from both sides at.
Again, he didn't do it on stage when he was there. He did it outside when he was talking to the media. Now, what if this guy's walking by and the media just starts asking him questions?
Okay,
what's he supposed to do is say, no, this is Charlie Crist's event, so I'll just back away?
He shouldn't have been there.
What do you mean he shouldn't have been there? It was open to the public.
Okay.
Again, I don't want to look, I don't like Lopez Cantera at all. He's a Rick Scott wannabe. I mean, these guys aren't. Neither one of these guys are any good. But here's the thing: Charlie Crist should have known his role and got the heck out of the way. And again, don't roll your sleeves up, Crist. We know you don't do any work unless you're on a boat. I'm not even going to get into the things I do know about you, Charlie Crist. Not even going to get into the things I do know about you, buddy. But I got to tell you, your secrets ain't nearly as safe as you think they are. That's all I'm saying. Trust me, I know people. I've talked to people that have seen you do things. So, at any rate, and what he's done, what Crist has done right here is he's made it open game to just interrupting people. That's what he's done, and that's fine with me if that's what you want to do, Crist. I don't care. All I'm saying is when I interrupt you, I want you to just smile and be okay with it because that's what you deserve.
Hold on, I'll bring it over.
And Wiley's calling in to try to tell me not to do it.
Because you shouldn't.
Oh, I'm doing it.
Just because they have poor behavior on both sides doesn't mean that we should.
Oh, here's the thing. I disagree with you on whether it's poor behavior or not, by the way. But at any rate.
3 lefts totally make it right.
3 lefts to make it right. That's right. 3 lefts actually get you turned all the way around, but that's okay. No, 3 lefts get you going right. Yeah, 3 lefts.
3 lefts make it right.
3 lefts.
2 wrongs don't make it right, but 3 lefts do.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
But on the line here, we have a caller.
We do have a caller.
We do have a caller. We have our future governor of the state of Florida, Adrian Wiley.
The only non-Republican in the race.
With non-Democrat policies.
Yes, the only non-Republican in the race. Go ahead, sir.
Did you call me boy in the first hour?
Yeah, I did, boy. What are you going to do about it?
All right. You know, I'm gracious enough to allow you to continue on the air on the show that I created, and that's the thanks I get.
Oh my gosh! Did that guy just say that? It's like he's Charlie Crist.
Oh, and by the way, I would have crashed the press conference too. So
yeah, and I would have been mad at you for the same thing, and you know that. So it's not like I'm one-sided on this. I believe that if nobody has the right to crash your event, you don't speak to reporters there. If you're there crashing someone else's event, you do it quietly and you leave. You don't go and speak to reporters. I think that's a huge faux pas, and I wouldn't do it.
Adrian, what do you think about this?
I just crashed an event in February. Exact same situation.
No, you crashed an event where every other candidate was invited.
Oh, I see the distinction. So because only one candidate was invited, that would be inappropriate, is what you're saying.
Right. If they're saying it's open to everyone and then exclude you, that's different. But they weren't saying this was open to everyone.
Well, hold on a second here. I'm going to ask Adrian a question. Adrian, if you are attending an event and after the event is over, you walk outside and the media is there and you start talking to the media, is that a faux pas?
I don't think so.
Now, if in the middle of that interview of you talking to people, you were interrupted by your competition, is that a faux pas?
I would say no.
That's not a faux pas either, huh?
He was at his event.
All is fair in politics. Within reason. I mean, when you're dealing with the media is so biased that take our campaign. We have to make a whole bunch of noise to get noticed in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, I personally wouldn't have a problem with it. I've got so little respect for the other two candidates in this race that for all the harm they've done to us as Floridians, to be a little rude on occasion, yeah, I've got no problem with that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wiley. I do appreciate that. What's your website, by the way, for those of you that don't know who Adrian Wiley is?
It's wileyforgovernor.com. That's WYLLIEFOR governor.com.
How's the campaign been going, by the way, Adrian?
Oh, well, as you guys well know, it's going fantastic. We're polling at 16%. We've got just a huge amount of grassroots support, something we're hearing through the grapevine that Rick Scott and Charlie Crist absolutely do not. We're really beating them in that arena. But we're struggling on the fundraising side. So if you're listening out there and you want to help restore some economic freedom and individual liberty to the state of Florida, please visit the website again, WYLLIEFOR governor.com, and click the donate button. Help us out that way. Help us compete with the progressive current Republican and the progressive former Republican, and see if we can get some fiscal sanity and social tolerance back in Florida.
There you go. There you go. And will you now interrupt Charlie Crist and Rick Scott at the next press conference?
Yeah, happy to do that at any time.
All right, good to know.
So, if that is being rude, so be it. Like I said, I've got so little respect for both of these guys. You got Rick Scott, who barely escaped jail by pleading the fifth 75 times when he defrauded Medicare. And you've got Charlie Crist, who has just got a wall of ethics violations following him everywhere he goes. And he is, one of his key campaign issues is restoring ethics to Tallahassee. It's absolute insanity. So yeah, I don't have a problem being rude to guys who haven't earned anyone's respect.
Nice. That's very good. I like hearing that. I like hearing that out of my gubernatorial candidate. That's for sure. And I can see Danielle is just fuming over there. That there's a smile, but it's more of a smile of I'm going to punch you both in the face when I see you both next. Is really what it looks like more than anything else. But
I know what Danielle is thinking right now, and from a political standpoint, she hates that I'm saying this, but by the same token, she's, just raring to go as well. She loves it. But I wanted to let you know, Alex, after your comments in the first hour, I have figured out what my first executive order is going to be as governor, and it's going to be to direct the Florida Highway Patrol to come pick you up and drop you off in Valdosta.
Why Valdosta?
It's Georgia.
Because it's the first town outside the state of Florida's borders.
You're going to kick me out of Florida? Huh? So you're going to kick me out of Florida? Is that what it is?
Sounds like. Well, you can come back. You've got like a one-day excommunication.
Really? You better drive me at least a day away then, so it takes me a day to get back.
No, we're just going to drop you off at the Welcome to Florida sign. That's it.
It's like a catch and release kind of thing, isn't it? It's like a catch and release deal. All right, well, vote for Wiley so Alex will leave the state of Florida temporarily for a day.
4 seconds while he walks over the border.
Yeah. The only way I get back in is if I actually, what he's going to do? He's going to bring me the little, you have the metal signs of like who the governor is. He's going to bring one of those signs, and I can't get back in until I change the Welcome to Florida, Wiley, Adrian Wiley governor. Like I have to go out there and do that part.
Do the lettering.
Yeah, I got to do the lettering. Which I'll do that.
You know what? If I'm elected, those signs aren't going up. That's a waste of taxpayer dollars. That's stupid.
Well, you got to take the Rick Scott one down at least.
We'll take those down, but we're not putting up a new one.
Well, here's the thing. Could we just use the one that says Rick Scott and kind of like line it out and write Adrian Wiley underneath it and still like have the same sign?
Yeah, we can do that. As long as it's done in like a good style graffiti tagging type thing, I'll go with that.
The tagging governor, Mr. Wiley. Thank you very much. Anything else, Adrian, before we get to the rest of the news? And do you want to stay on to hear some of the other stuff, or what?
No, I'll listen on the radio, but I just wanted to say keep up the good work. You're a fine steward of my show, and I appreciate you doing a good job there in my absence.
You're a great American.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See you guys.
Nice.
See ya. WileyForGovernor.com.
Mr. Wiley, WileyForGovernor.com. Let's move to the next piece of news about politicians not doing the right thing. Actually, judges not doing the right thing today. This is BS, by the way. This really is what you're about to get into. Not for you. I'm saying for what happened.
Yeah. And we actually talked about this on the show when this first happened. There was in 1996 there was a referendum in Pinellas County that was passed by 72% of the voters, or 76% of the voters, on term limits, which would put an 8-year term limit on all county offices. What happened was that was never added to the county charter, even though it was passed by referendum by an overwhelming majority. Susan Latvala, John Maroney, Karen Seal, and Ken Welch all have been in office now 12 years since that time. So they would have exceeded the term limits, but because it was never added to the county charter, they have not been removed from office. This did go to court. These guys did win in court the first time. There was an appeals hearing this week, and the appeal did not go in the way of the people and the people's voice. And Susan Latvala, John Maroney, Karen Seal, and Ken Welch are all going to be allowed to stay in office. The plaintiffs have said that they will keep appealing, that they will bring this to the Florida Supreme Court if they have to. So hopefully support their efforts so that they can keep doing that, because it's a very expensive process. But so far, if you're in Pinellas County, your government doesn't think that your voice matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the Pinellas Pasco Circuit Court Judge, John Schaefer, Schaefer, is the person that made this decision.
Yeah, and he's the appeals court judge. And he wasn't the first one to make this, because there was a lower court that had said the same thing earlier.
What is the justification? How do they justify?
Well, there's an issue in what happened is that they didn't think there's a constitutional issue in the term limits, basically. And constitutional officers of Pinellas County were actually exempt from this. And the reason why they were exempt is because constitutional officers are not controlled by the county charter. They have to uphold the Constitution of the state of Florida. So you can't put term limits on a constitutional officer, because term limits are in your county charter. Constitutional officers don't fall under that. Now, the county commission is trying to kind of ride on their coattails, saying, well, you can't term limit us either. There have been some Florida Supreme Court cases that have gone through as of like the last 2 years that show that county commissioners absolutely can be term limited in their county charters. But what they're saying is basically the change in the Florida Constitution that would allow for county commissioners to be term limited came after the referendum, so the referendum was invalid. So that's the argument here.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. No, completely ridiculous. And Susan Latvala, John Maroney, Karen Seal, and Ken Welch are despicable human beings.
They should just to respect the people and to show that we're respecting the people's voice. I think that they should have, as soon as they realized that they should have been term limited and that they were already 4 years over, that should have been it for them. And none of them have him. In fact, Ken Welch actually, was running for re-election last year and won. And he is going to stay in office for another 4 years. So he'll be at 16 years. He'll be double the term limit. Susan Latvala and John Maroney are running this year.
Yep. These people are running. They want to stay in there. It really is despicable, but it's what you have in Pinellas County. The people that are listening, this is the marketplace. This is your county commission. That you had 72% of the people vote in favor of term limits. These people fought it every step of the way, refused to put it in the charter, refused to do what the citizens told them to do via their vote. And this is what you have. I mean, you have basically just lawlessness that goes on. They're going to do whatever they want to do. They think they own this. They think they own the county. And until you throw these bums out of office, they're going to be proven right. Susan Latvala, she's one of them. John Maroney, he's one of them. Karen Seal, Ken Welch. Do not vote for these people. I don't care who they're up against. I don't care if there's nobody else in the race. Vote NODA. Write in Mickey Mouse. I don't care. Don't give these people any more votes. Don't vote for these people. They don't respect you at all.
Yeah,
even a little bit.
They have no regard for the voice of the people, and that's what it comes down to in this. And it's sad, 72% of the voters in Pinellas wanted term limits, and that should be respected.
Yep, exactly. All right, how much time is it going to take you to do the craft brewery thing?
Half an hour, which is why I wasn't going to get to any of these other stories.
Oh.
Yeah, we got a couple more minutes till break.
All right, you get into it a little bit if you don't mind.
Okay, just kind of set it up, I guess.
What this bill does, people that have been hearing about this craft brewery bill, this is SB 1714. Now, and how this came about is that the microbrewery distributors around the state of Florida actually wanted 64-ounce growlers, which is outlawed in the state of Florida. But it's an industry standard throughout the entire country.
So everybody else can use the 64-ounce growlers all over the country, except for Florida.
Florida couldn't.
Imagine that.
So this has been a big fight for microbreweries to be able to get a 64-ounce growler because that's an industry standard. Equipment is made for 64-ounce growlers. That's what every other state uses. They wanted to be able to use the same standards. But they had to basically get legislation passed that would allow that. Well, when this happened, and what this bill does, this SB 1714 does allow for 64-ounce growlers.
Hooray!
Yay. And you think, great, it's a win for microbreweries, but it's not, because what this also does is force microbreweries into what's considered the three-tier system. What the three-tier system is it's a manufacturing system where the producer, the distributor, and the retailer cannot all be the same person.
Or the same company.
Well, yeah. It can't be owned by the same people. Anyone who is a producer can't have any financial benefits from the distributor or the retailer and vice versa. You can't have any financial interest in the other companies. So you have to, if you're a producer of beer or wine or anything like that, you have to sell it to a distributor. The distributor then tacks on, a profit and sells it to the retailer. None of those can be the same company. But because of Busch Gardens, there was an exception made to this rule years ago. This was the Busch Gardens exception because Busch Gardens, the theme park, had a brewery on site, and that brewery was supplying the beer for the people retail on site at the theme park. So they had an exception. So the microbreweries were falling under this same exception to where they could produce their beer on site, sell it on site, and not go through the distributor. And they were falling under this. Well, microbreweries started to become very popular.
Started popping up.
And they started popping up everywhere. So now what this bill does is force them into this three-tier system. But in forcing them into the three-tier system, what this does is that they have to sell their beer to a distributor and buy it back with the profit added on from the distributor so that they could sell it in the retail location. Well, because it would be silly for the distributor to come pick up beer, sit it in a warehouse to bring it back to the same location, they're letting them keep it on the premises and pay the higher price to the distributor for the beer that they make that never leaves the building.
Yeah. So these guys will brew some beer. When they brew it, before they sell it, they have to give a cut of the money to the distributor who had nothing to do with the process whatsoever.
Right.
Boy, that just sounds like the mob to me.
It sounds like extortion, right?
Sounds just like extortion, actually.
Yeah.
Why are they getting away with this, Danielle? Do tell.
Well, when you start looking into it, and of course, the bill was actually sponsored by Kelly Stargell, who's a state senator, and now she says, well, we can't have breweries going around not in the three-tier system because who will be held accountable for, beer regulations and making sure minors don't get beer. Because apparently if you don't pay extortion, that means minors are drinking beer.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what it means, actually. All right. Well, let's pause this for a second. We're going to get into this and figure out why they are doing this when we get back from the break before we get to Brandon. But we'll go ahead and take a break real quick. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
The Libertarian Party of Florida is excited to announce the 2014 State Convention. Join libertarians and friends from across the Sunshine State to hear great speakers including 2016 presidential candidate Darrell W. Perry, the chair of the National LP Jeffrey Neal, plus Donald Belanti, George Phillies, Wes Benedict, Tony Stiles, and more. Be sure to reserve your seat early for the banquet Saturday evening with keynote speaker Judge Jim Gray. Jim Gray, the former judge of the California Superior Court and author of Why Our Drug Laws Are Failed, was Gary Johnson's 2012 presidential running mate. Arrive early to mix and mingle with friends at the Friday Night Social. All special events are open to the public, so even if you're not a registered libertarian, you are welcome to attend. The convention dates are approaching fast. Join us in Tampa Bay, May 16th through the 18th. Go to lpf2014.org to get your tickets today.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with camera. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street, just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
All right, we are back. Liberty Underground, 1787network.com. Talking about growlers. Now, Danielle, I want you to... why are they doing this? Like, what is the purpose for doing this? Because whenever you want to look at something like this that you don't understand, you always want to go, where's the money at?
Right.
Really.
So I started looking into the money, and we'll go with just Anheuser-Busch because we only have a few minutes. Anheuser-Busch has donated because they're not happy that people are getting their exemption.
Yeah. Because they think they own the exemption.
Right. So Anheuser-Busch has donated $17,750 to politicians around the state. And you would say, well, there's a lot of politicians. $17,000 may not be that much money.
No.
Well, then you look at the PACs that they've donated to.
Yeah.
And they've donated another $220,286.11 to the PACs just this election cycle.
Just this election cycle.
So, and you have PACs on here. This is PACs and political parties. So the Republican Party of Florida has gotten $115,261.13 just from Anheuser-Busch.
Okay.
Let's Get to Work. That's Rick Scott's PAC. He got $5,000. The Florida Leadership Committee has gotten $10,000. The Florida Innovation Fund has gotten $1,000. The Democrat Party, because, they're equal opportunity bribers, has gotten $20,000.
Yep.
Now, the Associated Industries for Florida Political Action, they got $26,000. We got the Conservative PAC, got $10,000, because they're all out for business. The Voice of Florida Business got from Anheuser-Busch $11,500.
Hold on. The Voice of Florida Business minus the microbreweries is what they should be called.
Right, as long as you're not a microbrewery, because they're totally against you.
Yeah, exactly.
But just some other PACs that has gotten money from distributors, because there's the main person that's going to benefit from this is distributors.
Yeah.
Beer distributors have given the Rick Scott Let's Get to Work PAC $45,000. The Policy Council PAC has gotten $16,000. Jobs for Florida, which also supports Rick Scott, $27,000. The Florida Committee of Conservative Leadership, these are the conservatives, $7,000. The Beer Distributors Committee for Good Governance, $32,000.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And you wonder why this bill's making it through.
The Beer Distributors Committee for Good Governance? Oh my God.
Yeah, that's $32,000. Now, the one committee, the one PAC that I actually have seen that has been trying to fight this bill is the Brewers Guild of Florida.
Yeah.
And they did receive a donation from one of the distributors. It's a distributor that basically specializes in only craft brewery, and they ponied up $1,000.
So hold on. So the people that are for the bill that limits the microbreweries have gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars. The ones that are pro microbrewery, $1,000.
Yes.
I wonder why those guys don't have more pull up there. Makes you wonder.
Yeah. So, and I'm still going through, because there's tons of breweries, and not breweries, but there's tons of beer distributors, and what they like to do is categorize themselves as all different things so they can hide donations. You can see some of them, because if you look up distributor, you're going to get some. If you look up wholesaler, you're going to get a whole lot more. If you look up beverage, you're going to get even more. So they like to, every time they give a donation, they put a different occupation down.
Makes it harder for you to actually be able to track the money.
So that it's harder to find all of their contributions.
Imagine that.
Nice.
All right. Well, let's go to the lines, though. A guy that is not getting money from the beer distributors. Brandon from the Global Dispatch. Brandon, how are you, sir?
Very good. And no, not a penny. Thank you very much. No, we'll pass.
No money from the distributors, huh?
No money from any of their aliases either.
Dang, it would be nice. How you doing, Brandon?
Oh, I'm very blessed. Happy Good Friday to you guys.
Happy Good Friday to you too, Brandon. Now, what is going on a Good Friday episode of the Global Dispatch?
A Good Friday episode? I'm not sure how we approach things. I wish there was better news on a Good Friday. But yeah, same old stuff. I mean, you've got, Harry Reid mouthing off, chaos in Russia, chaos in Iraq. So I'm not sure where you want to go first. I mean, I will throw this in there, as there was a story earlier this week which I thought was fantastic. We had a CBS reporter who's parted way with CBS, who went through and detailed kind of the aggressive and shocking control that the White House has over the press at CBS, saying that even when stories get through that they don't kill, if they don't like it, that is so distorted it doesn't even compare to the original report that the journalist will submit. So that was pretty interesting as well.
No, that was actually, I saw a couple clips of that, and I did think that was very interesting. Now, when it comes to this Harry Reid and the Cliven Bundy thing, what's your take on this?
Well, it's kind of a muddled mess because, you've got such a long history that's kind of led up to this, and, now they're going to show up with, armed forces. Who knew the BLM had, an army of their own?
Yeah, right.
I really, it's kind of an eye-opener, kind of just show a division in society and a division in the media and how everyone will portray this. Of course, Harry Reid now calls them terrorists. So, that division alone, I think, lets you know who your neighbor is. That's one of the first take-homes of this. I think the second one is, when you disagree with a law, especially a federal law, things like that, it's probably best not to ignore it for 20 years, because it makes it a little bit more challenging to have credibility and go through that. And I can't guarantee that Mr. Bundy has not fought this during the course of time. He's filed lawsuits. He's gone to court. I don't know that, but I know that they're not approaching it from that angle, which kind of makes it even head scratch a little bit further, and the whole backstory of the tortoise and all that. So, I think we should try to maintain our credibility by going through the proper channels, and makes it a little bit easier to fight and stand up and get people on your side. But it's just a very divisive thing. But I think it reflects where we are as a society. I mean, it really reflects people that are okay with the federal government doing whatever they want to do. People that are, they're going to grab their gun and stand next to you. And that's a pretty big dividing line, I think, in our culture these days.
Yeah, no, absolutely it is. Now, something else that's on the Global Dispatch that I wanted to get into a little bit, if you knew anything about this, was Edward Snowden questioning Vladimir Putin on surveillance in Russia. Do you know anything about this?
Yeah, he has a weekly show, and they were taking questions, and they kind of interrupted the questions that were coming in and said, Snowden wants to ask you a question. And it was probably, nothing in Russia is not orchestrated. You've got to know that when you're getting the news from the RT, for instance, it's coming through the mouthpiece of the government. Now, that's notwithstanding, it means that they lie or whatever about other countries. It just means you need to know where your news is coming from. So I doubt very much this is as impromptu as how they were kind of selling it. But he basically asked them, what is Russia doing on surveillance? And then, of course, they had some folks that came in afterwards and tried to explain, what Russia's stance is. And, they monitor everything. Let's just be perfectly honest here. And they don't really give you the freedoms that we have in America. You don't have the right and, warrantless protocol to go through there before they pick you up. They had an anti-Putin rock band that were basically picked up and shipped to Siberia before the city rallied to help get them out of jail. But, the whole free speech thing there is so different than what we're used to. But he does a good job of the PR campaign of trying to sell this, and Snowden was kind of part of that.
Now, does that make you feel less about Snowden then, because he was willing to be for lack of a better term, a pawn in the Putin weekly TV show?
For me, I don't really care either way. I don't think Snowden did anything or was asked to do anything that really went against his credibility here. He was asked to go on a show and ask a question. Now, I am also adding my own little opinion to this, because I don't have proof that this was a setup. I don't have proof that Snowden was contacted by Putin's people to do all these things. It just seems very contrived, and it doesn't take a whole lot of imagination to see it happening that way. Does that mean that takes away from what he's done with the NSA and the documents are not real? I don't think it has anything to do with that whatsoever.
Well, I think you're right there. But let me say it a different way: is that if he's doing that over there, is he trying to make the story more about him then?
No, because the topic is still about surveillance. He still comes across as a, free speech, no surveillance, no monitoring sort of advocate across the board. And even the questions that he asks hints at that to make it seem like he's trying to say that's what should be the case here in Russia as well.
Okay. All right. No, fair enough. Now, what else is going on out there that really kind of stuck in your craw?
Food truck guy, he goes around, he's not a food truck guy. The food truck law, the city ordinance passed a food truck tax or permit requirement. So there was a man there that passed. He goes around, he feeds the homeless, he hands out hot dogs and water to homeless. He's been doing this for 6 years, and they basically shut him down because he has to go through now this permitting process because he somehow, quote, falls into the same guidelines as the food truck people. And that kind of stuck in my craw, to use your words.
Well, the one thing it's funny is that this guy is going out and giving food to people. Like, he's not charging them, right?
He's not selling it.
He's not selling it.
That's correct.
But he's going out there and feeding homeless people. And you see that the government response to him going out to feed homeless people is, you have to give us some money to get a permit to do that?
Absolutely. Just like they've done with little kids with lemonade stands and cookie drives and everything else. And, you will see an increase in this, and you'll see a faction of our society that are okay with, big government should get a part of that. It's for safety.
Well, and that's what they do is they push this off as some safety. Well, this is how we make sure that, people are getting untainted food. But at the end of the day, don't you just want to make sure homeless people get fed? And if someone is out there saying, you know what, I really feel like I should take my hard-earned money and feed homeless people, I think that in itself says that they're probably worried about making sure the homeless person is fed and not poisoned.
Well, yeah, and you don't think the pastor's out there trying to poison people? Again, there's no proof of any of this stuff. It's just, well, you're going to have to get a permit for that because you just aren't allowed to freely go out and feed homeless people. How dare you go and do something like that without giving the mob their cut?
Well, and that's the way it is even here locally. I know our church, if we have an event and there's food left over, we usually just give it away to the folks that are there at the event, maybe the people that are, volunteering their time or whatever. We don't have the means to meet the criteria to keep the food up to the standard like a food truck would be required to move the food to a homeless shelter to be able to give them food. So you can't do it. You have to go through so many loopholes to feed the homeless in this way. So let's say I have a Thanksgiving event and I have 3 turkeys that are left over. I got to be able to keep it a certain temperature for a certain period of time while I transport it so it meets the criteria so they don't just throw it away or say I poison the people that are there at the shelter.
And that's important, what people don't understand, because I know a lot of churches get kind of this bad rap that they tell people that you have to go to the service to get the food. And most of the time, listen, most churches would be more than happy to bring it to a homeless shelter or something, but they're not allowed to by law because the restrictions on transporting food are so high that, a church is, they're basically just grateful to get in the donations to be able to give out. They can't afford all the permits and inspections and things that go along with it if they start transporting it somewhere else. So a lot of times it's not like, oh, we're trying to indoctrinate you into our church because you have to come here to get help. It's because they really can't give you the help unless you're there.
Yeah, our church doesn't even deal with cold foods and things of that nature because of all the refrigeration requirements and all that. So we only have dried box and dried canned foods and things like that we do open up to the public to donate to them, to give them. That's been donated to us because if you got to go through all the other permits and rules, and you got to monitor the refrigeration, you got to monitor the freezer, and I do understand the health concern there. I'm familiar with all of that, but at some point, when is it just too far? And it really just comes more about, like you said, the regulations and the rules, and to make some money instead of actually feeding people or helping people.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's about criminalizing poverty and finding ways to put more poor people in jail.
Well, you make it so everyone has to be on the government. Everyone has to go to the government for help because nobody, you've made it nearly impossible for anyone to just help someone on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, just even like our little business license for the state of Florida, we have to have a license in a state. Florida's ours. They kind of make the language read like we have to do all these formalized things, and you think you have to go through your attorney, and you have to do all these different things. And that's kind of what they're telling you because they want to make their money. Well, then I talked to, the one expert that I spoke to, who remained nameless, and you go to the website, basically you're just verifying information, and you're giving the state like $150. But the state just has to be on a cut. They just want to make sure they get their $150. They really don't care about all the rules. They try to want to make it look like to the public that they do, that they're guiding people and they're checking to make sure and they're trying to maintain things. No, they don't. They don't care at all. They only care about getting $150.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you check off a couple boxes and give them a check. They're good.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah.
That's all they care about.
Well, it's like if you ever go to traffic court, just go there for a day and watch what happens. It's like a game of, let's make a deal.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Like, oh, you're going to pay some money? All right, we'll waive that, we waive that. You win. Come on, next. It's just like that. I mean, these guys I'm surprised they're not, they're not reelected because these guys get, they put the amount of money that they've been able to extract from the American public, from the citizens of Florida in that. I was waiting for
where should we go next?
Actually, the one thing I did want to go back to next was Rand Paul using Twitter with the hashtag DJ Rand Paul.
Yeah, he tweeted some music. He's all about playing some music and that kind of thing, and entertained his fans and followers and that kind of thing. So yeah, that was covered as well.
Now, in with that, though, I guess that Liz Cheney, Beelzebub's daughter, has come out with something saying that he gets his foreign policy talking points from MSNBC's Rachel Maddow.
Well, when you're a non-interventionist and you don't want to just bomb anyone, and you don't want to line up tanks to go into Russia because the people there are turning Russian, I guess, then you're called all sorts of things, and you'll be thrown into the same crowd like MSNBC. So everybody loves a cartoon, everybody loves a caricature, and if you don't fit the caricature, you're going to be put into one whether you like it or not. You'll be told that you believe this or that, even though you don't. And it's really hard. And you guys know, as libertarians, you get this all the time, every day, all day.
Oh yeah, no. This is one of those. It's one of those things where it's because of their inconsistency in messaging,
right,
that they like to try to put other people in categories that they shouldn't be put into, because it takes away from actually having the argument of being able to say whether you support bombing everybody across the globe. Even though you're not going to be in the service to do it yourself, you're going to send other Americans to go and die for your purposes. The other thing that came with the Rand Paul thing was there was a clip that was a bunch of years old of him at a place talking about Dick Cheney, how he wanted to go to Iraq the second time because he wanted to make money off of it, and Rand kind of backed off of his comments a little bit there, which I do find to be a little I understand why he did it, but I wish he would have actually stuck to his guns and really called Cheney and the Trotskyites out on this.
Yeah, I have to see the clip too, and I have to say that I would agree with Rand too to back off a little bit. If I hadn't vetted the video to come out with something that I didn't know, I would probably be a little apprehensive in today's landmine landscape of media and interactions.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, but what else is going on out there, Brandon?
A lot of fun stuff this week. Kind of, a lot of good interviews. We spoke to the director of Mom's Night Out. John Irwin's on there. We've got the guy from Once Upon a Time, a real popular ABC show. His name is Raphael Esparge. He plays the Jiminy Cricket / Archie character. So those interviews are out there, and tons of good stuff. And you want to jump in a couple of weird stories, because there were some good ones this last week or so. And yes, Danielle, Florida is not again on the list.
Oh man,
we're doing good.
Yeah, we're doing good. We can make it a couple weeks. It's good. Give us the weirdest one first.
The little girl that's diagnosed with typhoid fever and taken to an Islamic cleric where they are, quote, performing an exorcism, but I guess that involved in Islam, that involves setting you on fire. So you can kind of count me out of that whole plan.
So hold on. So the girl has typhoid?
Yep.
And they set her on fire to fix it?
Yeah, they sent her home. We don't really know if she was given antibiotics or given a treatment, but there someone locally says, hey, you need to take her to this cleric, this sort of, this exorcism needs to take place, so, whatever, and I guess that involves setting them on fire, so this poor little Pakistani girl was set on fire. Horrible.
Oh my God.
Strange.
It's definitely weird.
Yeah, definitely weird.
Now people complain about our healthcare system.
Yeah, right? You know how much the copay would have been for that here?
Oh,
for getting set on fire?
Gas prices
she would have been out of network. It would have been awful.
Yeah, they would have had to call in, several ambulances and fire departments who would not have known how to treat it correctly, so they would have had to call in backup at, $600-700 a piece. Yeah,
exactly. Now, also you have out there is a Chinese man charged with biting a police officer while drunk, and his name is Bai Ting. Like, you can't even make this up, man. His name is Bai Ting. Oh my gosh!
I had to vet that pretty thoroughly, and actually, my response was similar to some of the other press. Was like, you can't make this up. I can't believe this. But the story is, it was weird before he bit the man, but it was weird. He was drunk, carrying on, and they try to arrest him, and he acts out, and he evidently bites the forearm of the police officer. His name is Bai, and his other name is Ting. When you say it with our English, it sounds like biting. That's, this has come up before. We've had several instances where Asian names sound very remarkably inappropriate to say in English, so it won't be the first or the last time.
Yeah, but it's really weird, though, that this guy has a name that sounds like the verb that he did. Like, he bit somebody.
With a name like that, you think it's kind of like, when you hear an English name, and you're like, oh, please tell me you didn't name your kid that. You would think that, Chinese, I don't think it was at the top of their mind when they named the kid Bai, just because of their last name. So, it's the same thing. I guess we hear this kind of stuff all the time.
That's awesome. All right, well, his name is Brandon, and the website is theglobaldispatch.com. Brandon, thank you so much for calling in this week, brother.
Thanks for having me, and talk hard.
Talk hard. Nice. Biting.
That's just funny.
You kidding me? Biting?
But we do that. How many American names have you been like, come on, you knew that was your last name. Why would you name your son Harry?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's even funnier that you said that. That's even funnier. But yeah, you're right. Absolutely 100% right on that one.
So at some point, this family had to know their last name was Ting.
Yeah. You'd think so. You'd think so. That's all right, though. Oh. You can't make this news up. That's the funny part. Like, you literally can't make this stuff up.
And I understand what Brandon's saying is that you have to go back and really vet it and make sure that everything is correct, because you're like, come on, that can't be real.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right.
The thing is, you run with it, then it's not, you look like an idiot. So.
Right. So you have to, I don't even know how you go around trying to vet whether someone who bit a police officer's name was biting.
I almost don't care, though. I don't care whether or not it's real. It's funny, and it's got my attention.
All right, we only got 2 minutes left before the end of the show here. One other thing I did want to bring up here, since we got a couple minutes, is for the race for representative in November for the area here
in District 13.
You will not have Alex Sink as one of the competitors.
Oh,
she has bowed out of this. She's figuring, I guess, third time is not a charm, and that she will not be. She will not do that. And I don't know who else you're going to have, because there's a Republican that was supposed to be in the race. I'm not going to mention his name because he actually doesn't deserve the respect anymore for this. But he bowed out of the race because he didn't want to put David Jolly through a primary. He wanted to make it smooth sailing for the lobbyist in the matter, which goes to show you that everything that other person believed was just a bunch of lies, because he fell in line with the local GOP, who has gotten. That's not the last time. It's not the first time they've gotten somebody out of a race. They did the same thing with what's his name, Forcade. They did the same thing to Forcade, so it looks like they did it again. GOP, very powerful in the area. Let's hope that David Jolly is not in that seat for 40 years like his predecessor was. At any rate, this is Alex Snicker. The website 1787network.com. We'll see you guys next week.
And for the third hour.
And for the third hour, you're listening to Liberty Underground.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
The Libertarian Party of Florida is excited to announce the 2014 State Convention. Join libertarians and friends from across the Sunshine State to hear great speakers including 2016 presidential candidate Darrell W. Perry, the chair of the National LP Jeffrey Neal, plus Donald Belanti, George Phillies, Wes Benedict, Tony Stiles, and more. Be sure to reserve your seat early for the banquet Saturday evening with keynote speaker Judge Jim Gray. Jim Gray, the former judge of the California Superior Court and author of Why Our Drug Laws Are Failed, was Gary Johnson's 2012 presidential running mate. Arrive early to mix and mingle with friends at the Friday Night Social. All special events are open to the public, so even if you're not a registered libertarian, you are welcome to attend. The convention dates are approaching fast. Join us in Tampa Bay, May 16th through the 18th. Go to lpf2014.org to get your tickets today.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with camera. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street, just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back to Liberty Underground on the 1787 Radio Network. If you'd like to call the program, the number is 1-800-525-4032. Again, the Refresh Telecom lines, 1-800-525-4032. And I will reiterate the number during the entire hour because I do not want there to be any excuse on why the people that might be on the other side of this issue are not able to call in.
You want to call Dean
Yes.
first? Okay.
Let's call Dean
Let's
first.
do Dean, and then we'll get into this.
Let's not completely derail my show prep for the entire day. I do have Dean on first.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Even though Greg is derailing it by calling it at 11:04 instead of 11:15, as you had indicated on the board.
I do everything at the 15 interval in case when we come back we're having to like talk, finish up what was going on in the last hour. Like I give some time for an intro again.
All right. So going at 11:04 is not derailing.
No, it's not derailing.
Good to know.
That's
Good
a
to
soft
know.
time.
That's
That's
a
not a
soft
hard
time.
line.
It's not a hard time. It's a
Right.
soft time. I like soft times. Not hard times. Soft times are a good time.
Oh gosh.
Well, what's going on over there? Is it ringing?
It says it's calling.
It's calling. What does the ring sound like this week?
Sounds like radio silence.
Yeah, it tends to sound like radio silence,
I'm
actually.
getting no sound from it right now.
What's going on over there? What's going on, Greg? Oh.
Hold on.
Oh, watch out. I heard something.
That was something.
That was something.
That was me hanging up. I'm
Oh.
going to try this again.
Oh.
Well, that means we do have sound coming from that computer, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the commercials played.
Well, that is true.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so what we're doing right now is we're calling Dean over at Public Policy Polling to once again give our weekly reminder
There we go.
that he needs to include Adrian in the next poll. I hope he picks up one week, man. I don't know what I'm going to say to him if he picks up. I'm going to be all shocked. I'm going to ask Greg to hang up on him.
It's like when I get someone when I think I'm going to voicemail and I'm like, hi. Hi.
What you doing?
I forgot why I was calling you. I
Yeah.
thought I was leaving a message. I had
Yeah.
the script.
Yeah, that does mess you up a little bit, by the way, when you do that. I totally understand your
Can't
point.
come to the phone right now.
Of course he
Please
can.
leave a message.
Yeah, imagine that. Dean! How you doing, buddy? This is Alex, co-host Liberty Underground. You're on live on the air. Well, you're not, but your answer machine is.
Like always.
Like always.
I'm a little sad that you never answer. I mean, I think that we have proved by now that we're a fun, slightly humorous and entertaining show that you should, at least say hi.
Yeah, at least you should pick up the phone one week. I mean, look, next week, why don't we do this? Why don't you pick up the phone? How about you want to make a deal with Dean? That if you pick up the phone next week, that we won't call you anymore after that?
We won't call for a month.
2 months.
Okay, deal.
We'll do 2 months and no calls if you pick up the phone next week, Dean.
Come on, Dean. You know you want to get in on this show.
You know you want to pick up the phone.
We entertain tens of people.
I know that you're talking trash to the other people in the office as you're hiding under the desk when we call. But again, let's talk about what we're here to call about, which is about Adrian Wiley, that you include in the next poll for governor. So go at ADRIANWYLLIE. So make sure that you include him in your poll. He's libertarian.
You should actually look him up, wileyforgovernor.com. Spell out FOR, and really look him up, because not only you should probably tell someone to vote for him.
You might want to do that. If you don't mind, Dean. But at any rate, go ahead and pick up that phone next week, and we'll talk then. But until then, toodles.
Bye.
Bye.
That doesn't get old for me.
No, I could. If that's a dead horse, I'll beat it. If that's a dead horse, I will beat it.
I will beat it into dog food.
I will beat it all day long. But there is one topic of conversation for the remainder of the show, and that is on something that is being referred to as the Convention of States.
Now, I think we should give the whole story.
Let's give the whole story. We got time.
Because we were, on Saturday, we were at the Tea Party Network event. This is for Tea Party leaders around the state to kind of come together, network with each other, discuss good and bad practices, what's working for you, what's not. Everyone gets to meet each other. And they have a myriad of speakers on different issues and topics. The CIA was there.
The CIA was there.
Because the CIA is our friend. That's what we did learn. But I have to say, for the people in the room, they didn't buy it at all.
Yeah, I got to say that the going away from this, I actually was, in many ways, I was happy. Because we saw what was going on when it came to the attempts at distraction, the attempts at trying to say things that just weren't the case, and the majority of the people in the audience were not buying it.
Right. So
now they were nice and respectful. They weren't mean and rude. They just, you could tell they weren't buying.
They weren't buying it. So and we were there representing the Liberty First Network. So we were on our best behavior. We didn't want anyone to think that the Liberty First Network themselves supported or was against any of the things that we're talking about, because we weren't there to really give an opinion either way. We were there to promote what we do as far as lobbying in Tallahassee.
Correct.
So, we were very good. We got to talk to a lot of really great people, a lot of people who already knew who we were and already really supported our efforts and, understood what we did and thanked us for everything. So very lovely time with the people there, very good. Glad that I went there. But one of their big kind of headlining discussions that was supposed to be a debate. This was kind of billed all over the state as a debate on the Convention of the States, which is an Article 5 convention. Now, a lot of people have been hearing about this because Mark Levin wrote a book, The Liberty Amendments. And we'll get into that story in a minute, too. And so you've been hearing a lot more about this Article 5 convention, the Convention of the States. So the Tea Party Network decided that they were going to put on a debate, having someone for it, the Convention of the States organization, having, someone representing being against it. The speaker that was against it actually had canceled on them about a week before the actual event on Saturday. And they were looking for someone else. Now, several people kind of did step up and say, yeah, we'll do it. But at the time, the Convention of the States organization had put a deadline to submit the name of the speaker that was going to be against it.
Yeah.
And they did not accept having anyone be against it and debate them because they didn't have enough time to know the name and I guess research the name, because I don't understand why you would. If you know your subject, you shouldn't need to know who's going to be against you, because you're just going to debate the merits of whatever you're there to support.
Exactly.
But apparently the Convention of the States organization cannot do that. they have to know who they're up against. Apparently, and I can tell by the way they started, their debate style is more of attack than supporting their own issue.
Correct.
But I digress.
They throw rocks and then tell people not to throw rocks.
Yeah. So, it became not a debate. It was a one-sided presentation on the Convention of the States.
Correct.
So I think I've been pretty accurate.
Well, hold on. In all fairness, they did allow for question and answers afterwards. And the question and answers is that you were limited to 1 minute in your question and then 30 seconds in a rebuttal.
Yes. Yeah, so you got a 1 minute question, they would answer, and they would take however much time they wanted to answer. You get a 30-second rebuttal. So you were very limited. That was a very one-sided, I guess, if you want to call it debate. You get 30 seconds, and I get 10 minutes or however long I want to take.
Yeah.
But again, that was the actual policy of the Convention of the States organization, not the Tea Party network.
Correct.
So this was nothing that I'm saying here is a dig on the Tea Party network. They honestly tried to have a very honest debate about a subject that they were, unsure of either way, and I applaud them for that effort. I wish the organization themselves was as honest as the Tea Party network.
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. So, what is the Convention of the States?
Now, and I'll go into some of the backstory. The Convention of the States, basically what it says is Article 5 of the Constitution. There's several different ways to propose an amendment to the Constitution. One of these is talked about in Article 5 of the Constitution, and what it says is that the states can call for a convention of the states to propose amendments to the Constitution. It would take 2/3 of the states to call for this convention and 3/4 of the states to ratify any amendments that came out of the convention, and then they would be added onto the Constitution, bypassing Congress and the federal government. That, if Congress and the federal government wasn't doing the things that you liked, the states themselves could rise up and amend the Constitution, calling for a convention of the states. If 2/3 of the states wanted to call the convention and 3/4 ratified any amendments that came out. So that is what Article 5 says. And this is honest, true. I'm not saying that this is not a way to do it. It is. It is written into the Constitution. It is constitutional. It is a tool that the states have to amend the Constitution. It is absolutely 100% accurate.
Correct.
Now, back in 2009, possibly 2010, I worked for a national radio host that wanted a symposium on an Article 5 convention. It was right after Obamacare passed. Looking at all of the options on how we can fight Obamacare, how we could fight some of these, socialist kind of ideals that were getting into our system. We held a symposium. I was working for him at the time, kind of doing some freelance researching and writing. And he held a symposium in Washington, D.C. on is an Article 5, number one, constitutional? Is it valid? What would it do? Is it the proper method to take care of this? So it was right after Obamacare passed that we started working on this. There was a lot of people from the Mises organization and constitutional scholars and attorneys that came in and spoke about this. I helped with a lot of the background research on an Article 5 convention. So, I know the ins and outs of the process fairly well. After the symposium that we held in Washington, D.C., Mark Levin came out against it, saying that it was unconstitutional, that it could not be done, states did not have this power, and anyone who was telling you that they did was a radical neo-Confederate who didn't understand the Constitution.
Yeah, and spent an hour on his show attacking you personally.
Yeah, he basically at first started kind of a feud with this national radio host and a couple people from the Mises Institute. I wrote a letter to him, also returning his book in a very, very public way. And when I did that, he went on a tirade for one full show of how I am also a radical neo-Confederate that doesn't understand the Constitution.
Correct.
And he also called me a silly little girl.
A silly little girl. Yeah. So Mark Levin, back then, keeping the dialogue at the level that he's used to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so
the add-on. I think from moving forward for the purposes of the show today, anytime that you want to mention Mark Levin, I want you to call him the add-on.
Yeah, and for anyone who doesn't know what that means, Mark Levin's show is only popular because he is an add-on to Sean Hannity.
Yeah.
So if a radio station wants to play Sean Hannity for a large amount of time, you had to take Mark Levin. Like, it was a package deal that you couldn't refuse.
Correct. All right.
So if you wanted Hannity on your airwaves, you had to, by force, take Mark Levin.
Yes.
So he was an add-on. Now I think he stands alone, but it takes several years of him being an add-on and being forced onto people before he could stand on his own. But again, I digress.
Yeah.
Mark Levin hated the idea, thought it was unconstitutional, called people that even talked about it radicals, then decided 2 years later he could capitalize off of it and write a book, and had done so in this book called The Liberty Amendment.
And did it like he found something, like it was Article 5 was hidden in like some kind of back room in Washington, the archives, and he went through all this research and found it.
It's in the president's book.
Yeah. He had to go to Nicolas Cage to get the secret code in order to find this.
Like, look, I uncovered the secret that I tore people apart for uncovering years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, great honesty there, Mark Levin. But what would I know? I'm just a silly little girl. Anyways, so Mark Levin jumps on this Article 5 bandwagon because, of course, he found the Holy Grail that nobody had talked about before him. And he started, and now this organization, the Convention of the States, has started going around basically the entire country, being a proponent of an Article 5 convention. Now, and I'm going to start by saying I do think that this is an option that we do have as people and as the states. This is definitely constitutional. It is something the founders definitely believed in and put a lot of thought into when putting it into the Constitution. They did understand that the federal government, just the fact that there was a federal government would mean that there could be something that could go out of control, that they could usurp more power than was ever intended, and that the states and the people did need recourse when that happened. And I'm going to say this, I don't believe the founders ever thought that we would be in the situation that we see today.
All right.
No.
I believe wholeheartedly that they never thought a state would let the federal government take so much of their power that we would have what we have today. So I think when Article 5 was put in, it was put in there saying that the states would, the people would have so much more control over the states that we wouldn't see them be as out of control as the federal government. So this was the proper check on the federal government, because they thought the people would be able to control the state legislatures enough to where those weren't the usurpers of power. That's not what we see today. The states are usurpers of power.
Mm-hmm.
So having said all that, this guy on Saturday starts his whole presentation saying that nullifiers are defaming the founders.
Yeah. And he said that. Now, we've seen somebody try to spin this into that's not what he said, but that is exactly
what he said.
What he said.
And he said that anyone who doesn't believe that an Article 5 convention is the right remedy is defaming the founders.
Yes, that's one of the things that he said.
Yeah. So this is how he started out. Now, and then he went into a very long diatribe attacking anyone who has come out against an Article 5 convention without really selling the merits of the convention itself.
Yeah. Well, he did make it seem like every problem in the world was going to be solved with an Article 5 convention.
He did. Now, I will say this. He did say that basically there was three things that they're looking for in this Article 5 convention, is that they want term limits for Congress, that they want one subject, one bill, so that a piece of legislation could only be about one subject, and that all amendments could only be about that subject. So this would get rid of like the pork projects and, everyone's little, they put in something that's completely unrelated to this topic of the bill to get their little pet project done.
Which is a good idea.
Yeah, and I do think that's a good idea. And the other one would be a balanced budget amendment.
Yeah.
Now, he basically told people on Saturday that if you were to get those three things passed into the Constitution, that everything would be fixed immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was talking about how the federal government always, overreaches their power, and that the Supreme Court allows them to do it, but that it's basically all of our fault because we don't do an Article 5 convention.
Right.
And that will fix everything.
Yeah, that those...
And they will not.
The clouds will clear, cats and dogs will live together in a very nice way, there'll be no mass hysteria, and that everybody's just going to go, the federal government is just going to go ahead and do this because somehow that's all they're waiting on, is that there's actually representatives that they're going, we'll do the stuff you want, you just have to do an Article 5 convention to do it.
Yeah. So,
sarcasm, if in case you didn't hear.
Yeah. Now, and I want to speak to the three things that they're saying will fix everything. And I want to bring it down to what we have in Florida. Florida has term limits. Florida has one bill, one subject. Florida also has to balance the budget at the end of every year. Are you happy with the way things are going in Florida?
And if the answer is yes, then you're not paying attention.
Yeah. So it's not like these are the be-all, end-all, save-all kind of amendments because
those don't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. There's not going to be one thing that saves everyone from everything. Listen, we have all that stuff in Florida, and we still have a lot of really, really bad stuff in Florida. Everyone who is against Common Core, guess what? You still got it. And you have term limits, you have one bill, one subject, you have a balanced budget amendment.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly.
So, these are not... I don't even... Personally, and I know a lot of people do, and I know, Alex, you actually agree with this, I don't believe in term limits.
Neither do I.
Yeah. I believe that, the same rules that you're going to apply to the bad people, you're also applying to the good people that want to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I do not I believe that every county, district has every right to elect the person that they want to represent them, and if they want that person to represent them for 30 years, you know what? That's their right to do. That's what elections are for.
Yep.
So I don't believe
I disagree.
I know you do, but I don't believe in term limits. I don't believe in them at all. And honestly, we have them here in Florida, and people just jump from state house to state senate to cabinet member to county commission to some. They just jump around. It's not like you're ending career politicians.
Jump around. Jump around.
Jump up, and get down.
Yeah. So, everyone looks at this as, we won't have any more career politicians because we'll put term limits on them. No, they'll just jump. They'll just go to different offices.
Yeah. Term limits has never solved that problem.
Ever.
It has never resolved the issue that it's supposed to resolve.
Right.
But it does limit the freedoms and choices of the constituents.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go with that. And we're not trying. Today's the purpose for this today is to not get into whether a balance or whether term limits are good or bad.
No. Right. I just wanted to speak to the what they're saying is going to solve everything.
Yeah.
Right. They're saying these three things are like the holy grail of fixing the country.
The panacea.
Yeah. And let's. Having a balanced budget amendment also is one of those things where how do you think they're going to balance the budget?
Yeah. Well, they're probably going to do it with raising taxes.
Of course, because everyone can afford more taxes.
Oh, of course.
So I mean, it's one of these things where, I don't see this. Number one, even what you're saying is going to be the savior of all is not the savior of all, even if that's all they stick to.
Yeah.
And here's why I say even if that's all they stick to. Because with a 2/3 majority vote, they can override any rule that's placed on them. So they don't have to stick to just those. Now, and let me go into the process of calling an Article 5 convention. What a state does is pass a resolution or a memorial to the United States government that says we are applying for, petitioning for, or calling for a convention of the states on these issues. And they name whatever issues they want. Now, Hawaii has done this, and their issues are eliminating the Second Amendment and providing socialized medicine for everyone. So not every state is really on board with the same thing these people are on board with.
Correct.
So you bring a petition to the federal government saying we're calling for an Article 5 convention if 2/3 of the states call for an Article 5 convention on the same subjects. And it does have to be on the same subjects. Mm-hmm. And that would be 34 states that would have to call for the same subjects. Then a convention of the states would convene. The delegates of the states, there would be 2 delegates from every state, and those delegates would be chosen by the current state legislature.
Correct.
So the Speaker of the House, the Senate President, the Governor would all be putting their these are who I would like to appoint. And then it would have to be approved by the state government. So the House and the Senate would have to agree on, they would have to choose out of all the candidates that are chosen by the Speaker of the House, the Senate President, and the Governor and the Cabinet, which of those two they would like to represent the state of Florida.
Correct.
Yeah, because they've done such a great job of choosing what represents the state of Florida best.
Exactly.
But, so they would choose those two people. They would also pass legislation that would put restrictions on those two people. So those two, they would put these restrictions on them, like, we're calling for a convention of the states on only these 3 issues, and you can only talk about those 3 issues. And if you don't, then we can recall you and put in someone else.
Correct.
Now, the recall provision, because I've read the Florida legislation, the recall provision says that if you want to recall one of the delegates to the Article 5 convention, the governor has to call a special session of the Florida legislature, that they would have to pass legislation recalling those delegates and then pass other legislation putting in someone new. Mm-hmm. They're not forced to. It's just something they can do.
Yeah, they don't have to.
They don't have to. So if the Florida delegates go up there and all of a sudden they're like, the state of Hawaii says, we just want to make some small changes to the Second Amendment. Let's just add this wording in. And the state of Florida delegates say, you know what? That makes sense to me. I'll vote for that. And the Florida legislature says, well, hell, we get more power if we do that. We're not going to recall them. Guess what? Your delegates in Florida can change whatever they want. Now, also, once delegates convene, they become a governing body. So once the delegates, just like when you send your people to Congress or you send senators or you send people to the state capitol, once you send them in the capacity of affecting legislation or rules or laws or constitutions, they become a separate governing body once they convene. Separate governing bodies cannot be held to standards placed by the several states. They have to make their own rules. Just like Congress has, congressional rules on how they do business, so would this Article 5 convention. Now, most of the time, and they do this in Florida, they use an already set standard, and something like Robert's Rules of Orders, which we see in many organizations that use this. There's other parliamentary procedures that are already ironed out by some other group. So they would choose a set of parliamentary procedures that they're going to use as the governing body. Now, I have not seen ever, and because I have done the research, there is a set of parliamentary procedures that doesn't allow for a 2/3 suspension of the rules. So that means all of your delegates that go to this Article 5 convention say, okay, we want to use Robert's Rules of Order. Robert's Rules of Order says, with a 2/3 majority vote, you can suspend all of the rules, which means all of those rules that the states placed on their delegates are now suspended. They can now open up the entire Constitution with a 2/3 majority vote to suspend the rules and do whatever they want. The state of Florida can try to recall them. It'll be a court battle. And that's if the state of Florida decides they disagree with them, because they're not forced to recall them.
Yeah.
And anything is now on the table to be opened up. And this is my issue with that. There is not a state in the union that is doing the things that I think are in the best interest of the people. Are some of them doing good things on certain issues? Absolutely. But are any of them doing good on all issues? Absolutely not.
No.
Now, we were at this presentation, and we listened to the speaker while he was, vilifying nullifiers and, basically saying that if we do what he wants to do, then you have a panacea and everything's going to be good and everything's going to work out well, and this is the only way. And he talked about how nullification doesn't work, and even though the only examples of holding back the federal government right now have been via nullification, and it has worked on many different issues, not only currently, but also for hundreds of years. I mean, since the beginning of this country, nullification has worked on a lot of different issues. So it's an effective strategy, which is probably why these guys don't like it. But with that being said, the one thing that I really have a problem with here is the lack of honesty when it comes to the convention itself. And that the spin job that was done when it came to what Danielle just brought up, which is they could suspend the rules and do whatever they want to do. And the answer that this gentleman gives is that, well, there's checks and balances that are in place to stop that from happening. However, he doesn't go into detail as to what those checks and balances are, other than some of the spin jobs of there's rules that they're going to be set up that are single issue rules and that they can recall those people if they do that. Now, those things take time to do. It's not like you can do those things overnight anyway. But more importantly, you can't do it anyway. And they can do whatever they want to do because they don't have to do it. They can do it. That Danielle's very right when she said they have the option of recalling. You're seeing right now, and Danielle said it herself, is that there is not a state legislature in the country that you would trust with changing the Constitution. If you know of a state legislature that you would trust to change the Constitution, then you call in and you tell me that state right now. And again, I'm going to leave the number again. 1-800-525-4032. 1-800-525-4032.
How long do you think it'll take till we get a call for New Hampshire?
What, from like the Free Staters? Oh.
Yeah, which, and by the way, and I did say there are some states that are doing good on some issues. Even New Hampshire is not doing good on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you need 34 of them to do it. Now, and this is where there's a big divide here. And this is another reason why I thought it would be good to bring it up. We knew this thing was go round. We knew this thing was working itself around. I didn't think there was as much money behind it as there is, because there is some money behind this. And I don't know where the money's coming from, but I know there's money behind this thing. You don't get to do all the stuff that these guys are doing unless there's money behind it. Where that money came from, don't know yet. However, the gist of it is, when asked the question about, well, the current politicians are the ones that are going to be up there, how can why would you want to give those guys the power? The speaker says that he trusts the Republicans to do the right thing. And if you don't trust the Republicans to do the right thing, then you might as well just throw your hands up and go home right now, because it's over.
He did address the concerns that I'm talking about here. And what he said was there's going to be people that say this. And what I'm here to tell you is that the Republicans own the state legislatures of the majority of the states. So I trust what the Republicans will do, and I don't think that they'll open up the rest of the Constitution and do things that will harm us.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That was almost word for word.
Yeah. He trusts the Republicans to do the right thing.
He has lost all credibility at this point.
And it took everything I had not to say anything. I mean, I was sitting there, and you have to understand, I know the background. I know on Article 5, I know all the rules, regulations, what could happen. And I'm listening to just a spin job up there from
a politician,
from a guy who's basically said that I'm a defamer of the founders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, come out insulting, which I think that he did by design. I think he came out insulting by design, because what he wanted to do is to piss off the people that would be against him enough to where when they went up there that they would be insulting back, and he could look back and go, see, that's why you shouldn't listen to these people, because they can't control themselves.
And I'm listening to him saying that basically he never once said that the Constitution could not be completely opened up. When the question was asked, what he said was, well, the legislatures in the states are majority Republican, so the chances of that happening are very slim.
And he kept saying there's checks and balances in place.
Right. And there's checks and balances, so the states make up the rules.
And they've done the checks and balances have done so well to keep us from getting to this point where we have to talk about having a constitutional convention.
Right.
Yeah. Now, and let me just say this when it comes to this, because this is I think this is the defining point of the disagreement back and forth is that this guy trusts the Republicans to do this. The last time that the Republicans had control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency, what happened? What happened?
Patriot Act, TSA, NSA, record debt.
Medicare Part D.
Medicare Part D.
Race to the top.
Race to the top. I'm trying to think. I mean,
unconstitutional wars.
Yeah, I was about to say,
unconstitutional wars.
Iraq, Afghanistan.
Yeah. and Medicare Part D, if we didn't include
drone bombing Pakistan.
So
and doubling of the federal government.
Right, and doubling of not only the federal government, but the debt went from I think it was $6 trillion at the time to $12 trillion.
Yeah.
So you doubled not only the size of government, but the national debt.
Yeah. That's the last time the Republicans were in charge.
Of everything. You had it all.
Now, in fairness, when the Democrats were in charge, they did the same thing, if not even worse.
Right.
But again, I'm not calling for a constitutional convention or a convention of the states with Democrats either. I don't want any of them to be able to change the Constitution at this point.
And what else he said, because everyone kept saying this is a constitutional convention, and he was very adamant in saying, no, it's not. This is an Article 5 convention of the states. And the reason why he's saying that is this, is because everyone knows that at the last constitutional convention, we got a constitution. Mm-hmm. They were only sent up there. All of the delegates were sent by the states to amend the Articles of Confederation. Mm-hmm. And what they did was throw that entire document out and start over.
Mm-hmm.
So if you call it a constitutional convention, that's a little scary because the last time they threw out the old document and made a new one. So now he's like, well, this is completely different than that one because this is an Article 5 convention. And I'm going to tell you that the only difference is that Article 5 didn't exist in the first one because you created the document that had Article 5 in there at the first one.
Yeah. Now, another thing is this. We talked about the Republicans in charge up in Washington, D.C., and how the last time they were in charge, they did all these things as a reason why some people are calling for a constitutional convention, or a Article 5 convention, a convention of the states. Let's go to the state of Florida. I don't live in every state. I live in Florida. The legislature in Florida is a Republican-controlled House, a Republican-controlled Senate, and a Republican governor. These people have been systematically going against businesses like microbreweries, like the sweepstakes locations, like hairdressers if they don't have the right permit, like interior designers if they don't have the right permit.
Because that's public safety.
They're getting tons of money from beer distributors. And they've proven themselves to be a bunch of unconstitutional pricks.
They've weakened Second Amendment rights for anyone who voluntarily goes in for treatment.
Mm-hmm.
They've implemented Common Core.
Mm-hmm.
They've only given tax breaks to their crony corporate business friends while raising your fees and taxes.
Correct. And they give you $25 and have $50 back like they're doing something for you.
Right. And ended entire industries within the state of Florida.
Correct. Now, these are the people that the Convention of States is saying that should be able to select the people that they're going to send up there that has the ability to change the Constitution completely. And the reason why is because they trust Republicans.
And let's just put it into context, is even if the Convention of the States work and we get all these great amendments and only those 3 amendments, and those go to Washington, D.C., Washington, D.C. is already ignoring all of the other amendments and all of the other provisions in the Constitution. So what in the world makes you think that they're going to listen to these? Even if, which I don't think you will, you get everything you want.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we sat there, we listened to the whole thing. This is what these people have, went back and forth. And me and Danielle, in all reality, respected what we were there to do at the time, did not get in the middle of this debate, and left out halfway through the question and answer period.
Because I was starting to really get...
Yeah, because you were losing a little bit.
I was losing a little bit of control because of how condescending the speaker was.
Yeah, he kept interrupting people too. Like when there was their time to ask the question, he would interrupt them.
Yeah, and his biggest argument was, well, they're all Republicans, and if you don't believe in this, then all is lost anyway. So let's just pack it up. There's no hope.
Exactly. That was the big thing. And also, is everybody else is scared, and they're the only ones with courage, and all this other stuff, and a bunch of other just like. In the argument that they're having, it's just little baiting areas right there, or little things that, like, we're not arguing that issue. It's like either this or this. And we're not arguing that. We're they're like, well, if you don't want to do it, you're scared. Like,
right.
No, we're realists. We realize what they're going to do.
Yeah.
You dumbass. And the problem is you realize what they're going to do too. And that's the real problem is this. That dude, and I'm not going to put his name on the air because I'm not going to give him the respect because he doesn't deserve it. He knows exactly what's going to happen with this. Exactly what's going to happen with this. And he wants it to happen because he wants Republicans in charge. Because this guy's been involved with Republicans for a long, long time. Long before the Tea Party. And what he is trying to do is the ultimate co-opt of the Tea Party to get these people to do something that they should not be doing. He knows it, but in order to co-opt this movement, this is what they do. Because this guy was a low-level GOP scumbag before the Tea Party started. And then what happens is that now that the Tea Party comes and they don't want to really follow by your rules, you say, well, I'm going to go in there because I understand a little bit more about organizing, because the Tea Party people didn't understand much about organizing because they're mad at government. They're not like low-level GOPers that are now moving up the ranks. This guy was a low-level GOPer moving up the ranks. Maybe not him as much, but there's other people involved that were that. And that what they do is they are mad at the Tea Party. At the end of the day, they don't like the Tea Party. They're mad at them for thinking that they have the gall to try to change things in Washington without falling in line with what they're doing. So this is why when they go in there, they say, yeah, and I was involved with you Tea Party people from the beginning. When you say that and you say it like that, that is one of the most insulting things that you could say. This guy is insulting to the Tea Parties. He thinks you're too stupid to see the plan that he's running right now. That's what he is. And that's BS all day long. And unfortunately for yourself there, Mr. Speaker, half the people in that room, or at least a third of the people in that room, smelled your BS right off the bat. And we didn't have to say a word.
Yeah.
Because they smelled the crap that you were shoveling going into this deal.
At some point, I had to, and Alex definitely saw that I was not going to be able to control myself any longer because he was being so condescending, so misrepresenting the facts, and basically almost yelling at people that I was getting very upset. And Alex was like, I think it's time for us to go. And he made a good call on that because, again, at the end of the day, we were there to represent the Liberty First Network, and the Liberty First Network is not putting out any statement for or against this. And I'm only representing my own views. So I didn't want to be there representing my views, but looking like I was representing an organization that's not putting out anything for or against it.
Well, and there's another set of rules that I kind of govern myself by. Uh-oh. And here's the rules that I govern myself by here. If I am invited to someone else's house, then, and I like that person, and the person invited me under good faith, then I am not going to cause a problem in that person's house. I was invited to this thing. Was invited to this thing. I wasn't invited there to cause trouble. I wasn't invited there to be the rebutting on the article or in the Convention of States. So I'm not going to get into it with the guy, especially when my getting into it is not going to be a nice way of getting into it. Again, I'm gonna. It's not any respect I have for those people. It's the respect I have for the organization that put it on.
Right.
And I had respect for them, and I did not get in the middle of it. Now, I was talking with the JBS guy, who hated this guy. But, me and the JBS guy had a nice little conversation on this. And this goes into something else. I wanted to mention something else. These guys say that groups like John Birch Society are throwing rocks at the Convention of States. That is so misleading, it's not even funny.
Right.
What JBS has done and has been doing for decades. Now, I want to make sure I say this. This organization's been around for a couple years at the best. I'll give them 5 years at the most. No way they've been around that long. But we'll say they were around for 5 years. That's 1/6 of the time that JBS has been out there
against
fighting this issue.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The only people that are coming new to the game is these punks. That's it. They're the ones coming new to the game. John Birch has been detailed in it, by the way. They're not coming out just throwing rocks. They're giving very good constitutional presentations as to exactly why, and they also provide a solution.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They do provide a solution. There is a solution, and theirs is more, you have to change the legislature. Basically, you got to change Congress.
Right. And I actually do believe in an Article 5 convention if like the founders had thought would happen, did happen, where the states were there, the state legislatures were there to represent the people. They were, making the, several, centers for innovation, that we were all sovereign, working within our own state to make sure that we had the best state possible, and that other states, minded their own business and things like that. If that's how our country worked right now, I would absolutely believe that an Article 5 convention would be the right recourse.
But it wouldn't be needed.
And that's where it comes down to, is that, and for this organization to say, well, nullification would take much longer, it's not feasible.
And it's not working.
We talk about a lot of legislation here. And I have to say that what we call nullification technically is not even nullification.
Right.
Federal laws that come out, like Obamacare, like Real ID, even the 3-tier beer system that we're talking about, which is a federal law, are unconstitutional, and they know it. The only thing that makes them constitutional is if the states voluntarily say yes. And how they get the states to voluntarily say yes, Common Core is another example, is to bribe them with federal money.
Correct.
So the government says we have this unconstitutional mandate that we cannot enforce at all, and we know it. We're going to bribe you with $800 million to implement Common Core. And as long as you say yes, you're going to get the $800 million. If you say no, no harm, no foul, we can't come after you, but you're not going to get the money.
Correct.
The states go, well, we really need the money. Mm-hmm. And they take the money and say yes. But that's voluntary. That's not nullification. That's the states voluntarily being in bed with the federal government.
Yeah.
All we need to do is have our states say no to the federal bribe, because the federal government can't enforce it anyways, and they know it. And the reason why we can see that is because you have a state like Washington State that says no to the 3-tiered federal mandate on beer distributors. And guess what? For the last 20 years, they have not gone into a 3-tiered system, and the federal government has done nothing because the system was voluntary. 10 states have said no to Real ID. 15 states have said no to Common Core. There's other states that are saying no to Obamacare. These things happen. The state of Kentucky, the state of Tennessee have nullified federal hemp legislation. 20 states have medical cannabis. 2 states have recreational cannabis. And the federal government can't do anything about it. They try. They come in every once in a while and try to do a raid on a dispensary. But the only thing they can ever hold those people on is tax charges. Mm-hmm. If you ever look at the charges that these dispensaries and other things that have been nullified by the state ever get in trouble for, it's always the tax structure, because the law itself was not constitutional and cannot be enforced within the state unless the state agrees.
Yeah, because that have to go to a jury trial at that point, and if they're found not guilty because the law was unconstitutional, then the law is proven unconstitutional, and then you're opening it up for everybody to where nobody's afraid of it anymore. Yeah. That's why the federal government's not doing what they're doing when it comes to these things, which is why, again, I'm not saying that nullification is the panacea of what's going on. It's just how you can stop some of the crap that's going on. The real solution, and again, let me make sure I say this to make sure that these people understand it. The real solution, instead of a convention of the states, is for you to understand that neither the Democrats nor the Republicans are going to fix any of this, at least the ones that are currently in office right now, and you have to elect people to office that have fidelity to the Constitution above all else.
Right.
Whether it's a state house office or a state senate office or a Congress seat or a Senate seat or a city council seat or a county commission seat or the damn dog catcher. It doesn't matter. Now, the problem there is that these low-level GOP scumbags think that we're just going to be able to tell everybody what to do and to be able to control everybody with this convention of the state thing and waste a whole lot of time, because that's what it is. Instead of being honest and saying, look, man, we ain't got nobody up there that's worth a lick of salt and nothing. We got to make sure that we get rid of all these people and put in new people into office. And whether they be Democrats or Republicans or Libertarians or Independents is more of a tactical disagreement and not the overall writing disagreement, because at the end of the day, if we had a bunch of people up there that were doing the right things, that were Republicans, I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care. They were doing the right things. I don't care if they call themselves purple spaghetti monsters. I don't care. Do the right thing. Stay out of my life. That's not what's going on here. And the problem is, and this is another thing, the magic silver bullet theory. These people subscribe to the magic silver bullet theory. One thing that you'll notice is that when we go on here, we don't tell you that one thing is going to solve every problem in the country. Have we ever done that?
I don't believe so.
Freedom.
Well, we said freedom will solve it. You're right.
But when we talk about how we get to freedom,
Yeah.
I don't think we ever say that there's one overriding, well, if we just do this, everything is saved.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because you know what? It really requires hard work. It requires you as an individual to start owning the vote in your neighborhood. That's what we firmly believe. Mm-hmm. And that's hard work to do. That is hard work. These people come out with a new idea every damn time. And they just rehash another old idea. They think that the Tea Parties are a bunch of dogs chasing cars. That's what they think. That's what this guy thinks. And again, he doesn't like the Tea Party people. He just realizes that he might be able to trick these people into doing something that is against their better wishes because he wants to be able to maintain more power. Because ultimately, that's what this guy wants. He wants more power within the GOP. He wants to be able to say that he's the kingmaker and that he can make the determinations. Not for good reasons, mind you. Just for his own personal power reasons. And he'll go, no, that's not true, and you're defaming me and all this other kind of stuff. Well, you know what, man? If that's the case, sue me. Sue me. Prove it. Prove it, man. Prove it, you punk.
Yeah,
I mean, it so pisses me off that this is the way this person acts, and he disrespected all the people in that room, and he thought he was okay with doing that. And again, you're in somebody else's house. I didn't invite you. Honestly, I would never have invited that guy, but if he happened to have shown up at one of the places that I was at, that I had control over, the second he was acting the way that he was, I'd have trespassed his ass.
Yeah, yep. I mean, he was rude, he was condescending, and it was over the top. And, I always look at everything like, I can respect someone who disagrees with me if they have just an honest disagreement where we hash out the issue and, you are on one side of it and I'm on another. That's fine. But once you get into name calling and demagoguing and you selling people on fear, well, you people are just all afraid. Yeah, I'm not afraid of Harry Reid. This is how we fix it. Oh, come on. Talk about the merits of your plan and only the merits of your plan, and that's it. And if it's not good enough to sell it just on its merits, then maybe it wasn't a good plan to begin with.
Yeah, and this guy wanted to get in the gutter, and that's where I like it. Because unlike Danielle, I like the name calling. You want to do that? You want to go down that level? We'll go down that road. I can do better names than you can.
Yeah.
You want to try to intimidate people? You know what? I think I can do a little bit better of a job than you can at that.
Yeah. Don't get in the gutter with Alex because he's just going to beat you with experience.
Yeah.
And I do have to say this about the Florida legislation because I have looked at all of it. The only thing that has passed, well, there's been a couple things that have passed one house and not the other. There's one piece of legislation that would be a memorial to the government, which I do want to let you know that delegates that would represent Florida in an Article 5 convention are not bound to a memorial. They're only bound to a piece of legislation, which would be a Senate bill or a House bill.
Yeah, not a memorial.
Not a memorial. So while the federal government would have to listen to the petition, which is a memorial, the actual delegates from Florida would not. That's non-binding to the representatives of Florida. So that has passed the Senate. The memorial has passed the Senate, not the House. The actual legislation that would attempt to bind the actual delegates, which, like I said, with the 2/3 vote, they could just get over anyways. Mm-hmm. But the legislation that is at least trying to bind the delegates has passed in the House, and it still has Rules Committee to go through in the Senate. So you have a memorial that is non-binding, that is the only thing that's close enough to being passed. And you have absolutely zero restrictions on the delegates because what would bind the delegates, kind of, at least an attempt to, has not passed and still has a committee to go through with 1 week left in session, which to me is even more dangerous than what these guys are talking about. Because at that point, they will have petitioned the federal government with zero restrictions on the delegates.
Yeah. And like we said earlier, I mean, we talked about some stories earlier. The people passed term limits for Pinellas County. And the representatives that are in office said, screw that. I don't care what you say. The last part about this is this. Last election cycle, well, unless Danielle has something she wants to say, or Greg has something he wants to say.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Last election cycle between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama for the office of president, they spent $2 billion with a B dollars for those elections. That doesn't count everything else that was up for office. Those two elections they spent $2 billion. If there is an opportunity to actually change, not a politician, the Constitution, how much special interest money is going to flow into those candidates' coffers, especially with the abilities that they have right now to be able to hide the money. How much is this going to be worth to those that want to spend money to infringe on our rights to better themselves?
And I want to say this. The one restriction that they have in choosing delegates is that the delegates cannot hold a current public office. What it does not say is that they can't be the head of a large corporation. They can be. It absolutely says that they can be the head of a lobbying firm, that they can be any of those other things that work against us. They just can't be current politicians, but they're chosen by the current politicians.
I mean, this thing smells so incredibly bad, and what makes it worse is that the people that are pitching it won't admit it. They won't give you the good and the bad. The one thing that we will do on this show, at least I think we do, is that we really try to give you the good with the bad. We try to tell you the whole story that, there's no magic bullet for anything, that this will require work, that it's not perfect, that bad things can happen at times. But at least we try to give it to you up front. We try to give it to you honestly. These people cannot say the same thing right now because they're just not. They're just not telling the truth. And if they do try to tell the truth, they spin it in such a way that gives you the actual wrong idea. And then when you try to question that, you can't trust the Republicans, well, then we might as well just give up right now. Here's the thing. You might as well just give up right now. That's true. You might as well do that, Mr. Speaker. You might as well. Because if you think that the Republicans are going to fix anything, then you obviously have not correctly identified the problem that is going on in Tallahassee. Because it ain't the Democrats that are screwing up the game up there. It ain't the Democrats that were in charge from 2000 to 2006 up in Washington, D.C. It ain't the Democrats that are in charge of over half the houses in the Senates, of the state houses and state senates in this country. It's the Republicans. And if you can't correctly identify the problem, then I have no faith that you can correctly identify the solution, sir. And you have uncovered yourself to be a plant for the GOP with your actions. And shame on you for your actions, sir. Shame on you for the way in which you're going about doing this because you are wasting valuable time. Time that you even admit yourself we don't have. We don't have time for more of your games. We don't have time for more of your bullshit. We have to fix this place, which means we have to tell people what they should be doing. And it's not listening to you or Mark Levin. Mark Levin's an asshole. And the other part he doesn't tell you is he was working for Reagan when they were doubling the size of the government then. And he wants to get mad at people calling them neo-Confederates because they don't like stuff. Mark Levin's a Trotskyite neocon who's a damn communist. You want to get down to the down and dirty? Let's get down to the down and dirty on it. You're probably a commie too, by the way. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Oh, by the way, their website, conventionofstates.com.
Why would you give out their website?
Because people should go look for themselves and figure it out.
That's true. Send them a message.
Yeah, tell them send them a message. Tell them how messed up they are. At any rate, I'm not playing your stupid games. And again, I gave you guys respect at the last place, and if you happen to be in a place where I have to abide by my own personal rules, then I'm going to do that. But I hope to God I find you in some places where I don't have to. Because you're going to get a piece of my mind then. And you were invited to come onto the show.
Yes.
Well, I didn't go out of my way to invite him, but I did say that I'm going to... I told someone, and I was going to mention this person's name, but I'm not going to mention this person's name at all. Not now. But they did say that, it was open. You can call in. There's nothing I can do about it. And I would have taken... No phone calls came in during that time frame. So.
Right. We did give out the number twice.
Yeah, and we did. So, and it's on the website. Whatever. I don't care. Again, after this week, we're done talking about this, by the way. I'm not going to give you oxygen thieves any more freaking time than we've already given you. We've already given you enough. You've been properly schooled. You've been properly spanked. It's time to move on.
No, I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so conventions and states, screw off. We'll see you next week. Liberty Underground.